And now let's take a look at Jim Moore's matchups.
Well, Steve Wisniewski's got to block Cortez Kennedy today if the Raiders are going to run the football. The Raiders play tight man-to-man coverage with Lewis and McDaniel. Galloway and Pritchard have their hands full. Walter Jones is playing extremely well as a rookie. He'll have his hands full with Anthony Smith today as the defensive right end.
Joe Bugle, the man who now leads the Raiders, they have such confidence in him after those brutally disappointing losses, 2 one-point losses and a 3-point loss in overtime. They say Bugle's held them together. They're going to make a run at the playoffs, and Dennis Erickson's team is. Here's a guy whose club was blown out the first 2 weeks, and now they've come back to win 4 of 5. The Seahawks kick off, and the ball is taken by Desmond Howard, the MVP of the last Super Bowl, and Howard breaks it across the 20 and is taken down at the 22-yard line. And there, Jeff George and the Raiders will go on offense. What a year he's having, his first as a Raider, a quarterback rating of 100. He's thrown for 16 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. Probably, Jim, the best free agent acquisition of this past year.
No question about it. He's had a great season so far.
Harlow's playing very well at left tackle. So is Lester Holmes, able to pull. Wisniewski's been a Pro Bowler at guard. Hoffman's the guy to watch. He got a huge ovation when he was introduced. He, of course, was a star at the University of Washington as a collegian. Napoleon Kaufman. And he starts out the game running the ball. And Kaufman, who's averaging 5.6 yards every time he runs it this year, is taken down after a gain of about 3. As we look at the Seahawks on defense, they've really tightened it up. The play of 300-pound tackle Sam Adams has helped a lot. A former Oregon Duck, Matt LaBounty's played very well at defensive end. Tez Kennedy is always good. Linebackers are solid. Shad Brown has been a standout. Sean Springs, a rookie from Ohio State, 3rd player picked in the entire draft. He's been good at cornerback, maybe the toughest position on the field to play other than quarterback. On 2nd down and 7, it's back to the run. Hoffman takes it to about the 27-yard line, where he's taken down by Cortez Kennedy.
Well, the Raiders felt like they wanted to come out and be physical and run the football. They also felt like they needed more balance. Last week they ran it a bunch. This week they needed to throw it a little bit more, but their first 2 plays, they've come out running the football with Kaufman right up the middle.
Now they go to a bigger set. 4 wide receivers, actually 3. They'll have a double tight end formation. A lone running back, that's Derek Fenter, on 3rd down and 5. Opening drive, George backpedaling, stands in. They'll get him back at the 16-yard line. Sam Adams, who can be great on occasion and takes some plays off. That time he was great, Jim.
As you said earlier, Don, those 3 defensive tackles that they play with Cortez Kennedy, Adams, and Salamiu are very, very important to that defense. You got a great push there from number 96, Cortez Kennedy. Went right up the middle, pushed that offensive line back, and made the sack.
Really ran right over Lester Holmes. So now the Raiders will be forced to punt from deep in their own end as their punter. Araguz is back inside his 5-yard line. There is Ronnie Harris, ready to run back the punt. A good punt by Araguz, driving Harris back to his 24-yard line. And Harris is out close to the 32. And there Seattle goes on offense, 1st and 10. With Warren Moon at quarterback, soon to be 41 years old. November 18th, Warren will turn 41. That was a 57-yard punt by Araguz. Walter Jones, 1st-round draft choice from Florida State. His coaches say he's playing as well they feel as any tackle in the league as a rookie. Broussard's a breakaway guy, averaging 9.1 yards a rush for the season. Galloway, the deep speed. Pritchard, former Colorado standout, is in the lineup along with James McKnight. Warren Moon sets his team on 1st down and 10. Swings it out. Ball is taken in. Broussard breaks it on the far side. He's out across the 40-yard line. He needed 10 on a 1st down play for a 1st down. He got 11 before Albert Lewis, the 15-year veteran at quarterback, ran him out of bounds. Darrell Russell, the number 2 pick overall in the last draft, starts at defensive end. Russell, Maryland, a former number 1 pick overall back in '90. He starts at defensive tackle next to him. Linebackers have been saddled. A lot of experience at the corners. McDaniel's a 10-year veteran. And Albert Lewis, a 15-year veteran. Warren Moon on 1st and 10. Triggers his throw and threads it right into his tight end, Carlester Crumpler. So the Seahawks throwing the ball on consecutive downs. Get the first down to the Raider 40-yard line.
Well, the Seahawks have won 4 out of their last 5 by throwing the football on offense, and they came out here today in their first series. They've thrown on their first 2 downs. I fully expected them to come out in a 3 wide receiver offense, but they've come out with just 2 wide receivers, 2 backs in the backfield, but have thrown the ball both times.
That one, Jim, was good for 18 yards to Crumpler. Moon pitching the ball, 1 setback again. Double tight end formation. And they go to the run, and a penalty marker comes in as Broussard bangs off a tackler, then turns it outside. And Broussard, who's not only one of the fastest players on Seattle, he's one of the fastest players on the league in the opinion of Joe Bugle.
Right. Joe Bugle said that when he came out as a senior in college at the National Football League scouting combine, they had him in a 4.42 40, which is that's really flying. Now, some people think that he's a small back. You know, he's short, but he's not small. He's 5'7", but he weighs 210 pounds and is very powerful and very quick.
And he's a great comeback story. Really turned his life around. Inspirational guy. As Ed Hockley,
offside by the defense, number 96. The penalty is declined. Brings up 2nd down.
Darrell Russell, the rookie, starting at defensive end, the former All-American in Southern California, jumped early. And the Raiders were all concerned about the crowd noise being a factor for their offense. They were worried about false starts. Now they get a defensive lineman jumping early. That makes it 2nd and a yard. Broussard, hit by 3 Raiders, is taken down at about the 30-yard line. He might have enough for a first down. McLaughlin, at 320 pounds, was one of the lead tacklers.
You know, Don, you were mentioning Broussard, the comeback story. At age 10, he started using drugs and alcohol. He used marijuana. He drank alcohol, and it affected him throughout his life. About 1.5 years ago, his wife and his daughter walked out on him. And he went to Dennis Erickson one day, and he said, hey, Coach, he says, I need some help. I want to get my life squared away, because he'd been using drugs and alcohol up to that point. Denny Erickson referred him to a rehab facility on the eastern part of the state here over in eastern Washington. He went into the rehab facility, got his life together, and he's been sober ever since. His wife and child have come back. Everything's fine in their family, and he's doing great, and he's having an excellent year so far.
Is he? 283 yards rushing, 9.1 yards a carry coming into the game. He personally beat the Tennessee Oilers here, breaking a 73-yard touchdown run and another for over 40 yards. Broussard was originally a #1 draft choice of the Atlanta Falcons. Played collegiately at Washington State. Cougars having a big year as they continue unbeaten. They're down and about a foot. First back throw is Matt Strong, the fullback. Raiders nail him, but he looks like he did get enough for the first down. Ball advanced just inside the 30-yard line of the Raiders. There's no score in the first quarter. 11:09 to play in it.
You know, a little bit more about Broussard, Don. This is the first game this year that he has started. He was their #3 back earlier in the year. He came in and had some outstanding games. He broke the game open against San Diego to give him a win. He had the 2 long runs, like you mentioned, against Tennessee, and today he's starting for the first time this year.
You'll also see Chris Warren in the lineup. Another of their good runners. Lamar Smith is out for 4 weeks with a leg injury. On 1st and 10, Warren Moon stands in. The blitz is coming. He gets it away. Moon took a big shot as Mike Morton came from outside linebacker and slanted in, making a hard hit on Warren Moon as he released the ball.
Here comes Mike Morton, number 50, from the left side of your screen. Right there. He's coming from the outside, and nobody blocks him. He's going to put the pressure on Moon there. The Raiders have not been, they're not really a big zone blitz team. The zone blitz is so popular in the league nowadays. The Raiders don't do a lot of zone blitzing, but they will blitz 1 linebacker along with their 4 defensive linemen to give you a 5-man rush.
That time the 1 blitzer almost got there, but Moon did get it away. Incomplete. 2nd down and 10. Moon pitching off, and this time he goes over the middle to a guy they don't throw to much. Max Strong, the fullback. turning out of the backfield, and he's down to the 25-yard line. A gain on the play of about 6 yards.
Warren Moon told us yesterday, Don, that because the Raiders play so much man-to-man defense, that a lot of times what that does is it puts a linebacker covering a running back. And he likes the matchup of his running backs on the Raider linebackers. And right there, they had a linebacker covering Strong, and he hit Strong for about a 5-yard gain.
Yeah, Strong doing a good job getting the step on the linebacker as Moon again puts it up on 3rd down, swings it out. This is Broussard making people miss. James Trapp missed him, and Broussard with a stutter step move down the near sideline gets ahead for a 1st down and a 3rd down pass play. He's down to the 10-yard line.
Again, we're talking about throwing to one of your backs. Now, this time, they have a strong safety, number 37, Trapp, right there that's covering Broussard. But he's a little bit behind, a little bit late in his coverage, and they hit Broussard for a good gain. Trapp's got to get on him a little bit quicker than that.
He beat Trapp. There's no question. A 15-yard gain on the play. So now Seattle challenges for the first score of the game. 1st and goal from the 10-yard line. Moon ready to throw again. McLaughlin in pursuit. Moon gets away, launches to the end zone, and Raiders are all over it defensively. And so it will be 2nd down and goal.
You know, Bob Bratkowski, the offensive coordinator, told us yesterday, he said, we're doing everything well on offense. He's pretty happy with everything they're doing except our red zone offense. When we get down inside the 20, we've got to score more touchdowns. One of the problems has been turnovers in the red zone. They haven't turned the ball over a lot overall, but when they get down inside the 20, they've been fumbling the ball and throwing the interceptions, and this has kept them from getting in the end zone.
They're moving the ball well now towards the end zone. Moon has hit 4 of 6 passes for 49 yards. On 2nd down, he goes to a draw play, and Broussard with a penalty marker down is taken down at about the 7-yard line.
It looks like we might have a hold on the Seahawks. Again, you know, what they want to do when you get down inside that 20-yard line, you've got to be efficient. You can't fumble, you can't have penalties, you can't turn the ball over. You've got to be extra efficient.
There were fouls by both teams on the play. Offsides by the defense, number 96. There was also holding by the offense, number 38. The foul is offset. Replay 2nd down.
Seems like a push, but it wasn't. Seattle's beneficiary of that, not losing the additional yardage, which would come with a holding call.
Right. There's no question about that, Don. Again, you've got to be efficient down here. You can't beat yourself in the red zone. Really important when you're down here. You got to, you know, if you continue to have to kick field goals, that's going to catch up with you eventually. When you get down here, it's important. Get in the end zone. If you have to kick a field goal, then the defense has done their job.
Defense digs in as Moon on 2nd and goal from the 10-yard line. That's his offense. Moon with a drop and a throw. He makes a connection. Max Strong again, and good open field tackling by the Raiders as the 15-year veteran Albert Lewis makes the stop at about the 5-yard line. Warren Moon is interesting. When we talked to him yesterday, Jim, talking about the intimidation factor. He says it's usually early in the game the Raiders try to get to you.
Right. You asked him, you said, do the Raiders still intimidate teams? And you said, yeah, early in the game. The key is to not get intimidated early. If you don't get intimidated early, then they ease up on that part of it. He says they won't intimidate us.
Here's a big down now as the Seahawks looking to take it in on 3rd and goal from the 4-yard line. This play doesn't go. They'll have to try the field goal. 3-4 wide receiver set now. Lone back is Broussard. He gets the ball. And Broussard is stopped by the Raiders as their defense really tightens up. McLaughlin slowed him up, and then flying over the top was Eric Turner, number 42, who ran back that fumble recovery of Elway's 65 yards for a touchdown last week.
Well, that was an interesting call because the Seahawks, for the first time in that series or in the game, they came in with their 4 wide receiver set. This is the set they opened the game against last week against Denver. That was the first time then they, you know, which is primarily a passing formation, and they gave the ball there to Broussard and tried to run the ball.
Todd Peterson, you see, kicking well, has hit 7 of 9. This will be a 21-yard attempt, which he spins up and through the middle. So the Seahawks offense moving the ball beautifully down the field. Then the Raider defense tightens, and Seattle comes out of it with a field goal to take a 3-0 lead. It looks
like the Seahawks. Here's on the running play. Now, the guy that does a good job right there is number 91, Chester McLaughlin, the tackle that always lines up on one of the guards. You'll see him right there. He'll flop from either the left guard or the right guard. Russell Maryland, number 67, will always line up on the center. That time, McLaughlin did a great job of playing the block, the head of the block, starting to the left, coming off the block, and making the tackle for no gain. Chester McLaughlin is a player that has a tremendous amounts of ability. There's been some criticism of him of not using that ability all of the time, being a little bit inconsistent. Last week, I believe he played his best game of the season against Denver. He hustled every play. He was all over the field, made a lot of big plays, which he is capable of doing when he plays hard. He's a tremendous athlete.
Warren Moon called him a sleeping giant. When he's ready to go, he said he can be a difference maker. Warren Moon takes a seat as Al Davis looks on after making some great free agent acquisitions. Jeff George, there's a lot of criticism of the Raiders for picking up George, but the guy's been an all-pro quality quarterback this year.
He's played well, and he's been a real good addition to the football team. And talking to the Raider coaches and the other Raider players, they all like his leadership, his team-type attitude. He's been everything that they thought that he would be when they signed him.
Another kickoff and another return by Desmond Howard, who opened the game. You'll remember this time Howard breaks it for the moment. He gets across the 25-yard line and out to the 27. Follow the NFL season online at NBCSports.com. This week our poll asked, who looks like Coach of the Year at the halfway point of the season? Plus insider Gil Brandt picks his biggest plays of the season and takes an early look at candidates for Rookie of the Year. It's all at NBCSports.com. How about it, Coach Morrow? Who do you look to as a possible coach? A lot of good candidates this year.
Well, the three top candidates to me are Jim Fossil with the Giants, Tony Dungy with Tampa Bay, and Bill Parcells with the Giants, or with the Jets. And my pick would be Jim Fossil. I'd vote for him.
He's done a terrific job. They were leading the last we checked. Here is a throw to Tim Brown, his first catch of the day. The all-pro receiver who has been brilliant season after season. That was his 43rd catch of this year. Knocked out of bounds by Darrell Williams.
There's Tim Brown right there. Now, one of the things that Jeff George told us yesterday, he says, because we ran the ball so effectively last week against Denver, we feel that the Seahawks will really be playing the run on defense. So what we're going to do is use more play-action passes where we fake it or run to the running back and then throw the football, and that's what they did there.
Rarely do you see two teams as emotionally charged as these two teams were when we met with them yesterday. They're looking on this almost like a playoff game. Here's a breakaway run. Napoleon Kaufman. The race is on. He's going to win it. Into the end zone goes Napoleon Kaufman, and the Raiders take the lead. But there is a penalty marker down.
Offsides by the defense.
Whoa, it goes.
Penalty has declined.
Touchdown Raiders. What a homecoming.
You know, after looking at film of Napoleon Kaufman play against the Broncos last week, that run looked very familiar because all you could see was him breaking big plays. That's his 8th run of the season at over 40 yards. That's outstanding. A lot of teams don't even have a run over 25 or 30 yards by their team.
So Al Davis into Al's right to our left. Al Locasale, the longtime Raider executive, who talked yesterday about the difficulty when this crowd gets into it here. He said it's a 12th man unlike no others.
That's right.
He said Denver's probably rivals it. Crowd can be a huge factor here as Cole Ford hits the point after, and the Raiders hit the big play and take the lead 7-3.
Well, take a look at the fullback, number 34, Derek Finner. He's going to block Chad Brown right there, puts him right on his back. That's a key block for this run. Then there's some missed tackles, and Napoleon Kaufman does an excellent job of getting through that Seahawk defense there for the long touchdown run.
55 yards he goes.
Watch Chad Brown there, the all-pro 94, the linebacker. Great block by Finner. Good blocking there by everybody. Watch number 82. James Jett there, the receiver. A lot of times when backs break long runs for touchdowns, it's because the wide receivers get downfield, block secondary people, and that springs the running back for a long gain. James Jett there, number 82, did an excellent job of blocking. Al Locasal told us yesterday, he says, hey, watch our wide receivers. They really do a good job of blocking. Jett, Tim Brown, Kenny Shedd.
There's some of the big plays of Napoleon Kaufman, man.
Now he's got that kind of explosiveness. You know, Joe Bugle told us, he says the thing that's most impressive about Napoleon Kaufman is his burst and his explosiveness. The Seahawks coaches said, we can't let him get in the secondary. That's where he gets dangerous. Well, he got in the secondary that time and went all the way for the touchdown.
There's your Coach of the Year candidate, Jim Fassel. His Giants going to 6-3. A huge win for the Ravens as they go to beat the Redskins on the Skins home field. San Francisco goes to 7-1. Mariucci's got to be a Coach of the Year candidate. The young coach of the 49ers, where your son Jim coaches.
He's done a heck of a job this year.
Here's Ronnie Harris turning it outside, turning up and out across the 30. A marker comes in. It'll be a blocking foul against the Seattle Seahawks. Napoleon Kaufman's a terrific, upbeat guy. He just loved coming back here. He's from California. It is a foul against the Seahawks. We asked him yesterday, did you ever have a day like that, 227-yard day ahead against the Broncos? Oh, yeah, with the Huskies?
Yeah. Well,
they had a lot of them.
I know. He's the all-time leading rusher for Washington.
Holding by the receiving team during the return, number 34. 10-yard penalty, first down.
He also holds the record for the Huskies for all-purpose yards. He had a great career there. You asked him yesterday, you said, what are your memories of being a Husky? He said one was in 1991 when we won the Rose Bowl and won the national championship. And I got a real kick out of one of his other memories.
We look at the 100-yard rushers, what the averages are for the season. Terrell Davis, who John Elway says is the reason this is the best Bronco team he's ever played on, because he says Terrell Davis is the best running back in the NFL, and there's a good argument for that. They're talking about Napoleon Kaufman when they played Washington State, their arch rival. Those are the fans all started chanting when there was talk that he was going to leave early for the NFL. One more year.
One more year. The last 2 minutes of the game. He said it really got him excited. And he stuck around for his senior year and had a heck of a senior year. Was a #1 draft pick by the Raiders.
We can't identify. There's a player that is shaken up on the near sideline. Looks like it's a Raider. And good to see he's up. Dan Land, a top special team player. Look, he banged up an arm or shoulders. Dr. McLaughlin checks him out.
You know, they feel like Chester McLaughlin is having one of his better years this year and has been more of a team-oriented guy and really a leader.
He's not in the lineup.
No, he's not in the lineup.
He was earlier. Here's a big play in the backfield. Broussard tries to turn it wide, and Mike Morton, who really came to the fore this preseason, a linebacker in his 3rd year out of North Carolina, has made 2 big plays.
Here's Morton right here, number 50. Attacking the line of scrimmage when the run comes his way, hitting that gap. Excellent play by the linebacker. They've got 3 good linebackers, Fredrickson, Beekert, and Morton. They don't get a lot of publicity because that defensive line and secondary gets so much publicity, but their linebackers are playing very, very well this season.
Beekert was a key factor in the win over the Broncos last week. He had 12 tackles for the Raiders. Throw by Moon. Ball's in the air. Might have been picked. It was. And the interception, the Raiders get the ball. Lorenzo Lynch made a play on the ball after it was tipped. And Lorenzo comes off the field with the ball, and the Raiders all of a sudden have turned this game.
Albert Lewis is covering Mike Pritchard right there, man for man. He gets his hand on him a little bit. Pritchard tries to run a little slant route, but it's number 23, not Albert Lewis.
Yeah, it was Lionel Washington.
Lionel Washington.
Knocked the ball free, and Lorenzo Lynch who picked it off.
Very good man-to-man coverage there by Washington.
Good as it gets. Well, he's been around a while. Another longtime veteran. The Raiders secondary is full of longtime veterans. Jeff George pitches back. Here's Napoleon Kaufman. Got his wind on the sideline, and he breaks it inside the 20-yard line and down to the 18, where he's taken down by cornerback Willie Williams and by number 94 Chad Brown. Kaufman already building the numbers, Jim, early in this game. 4 carries, 64 yards. That'll do it.
That's right. Joe Bugle wants to get him the ball 25 times a game. He's got it 4 now, about almost a little more than halfway through the first quarter. So if they can get a lead now, they'll just keep feeding him the ball. He might make 200 yards again this week.
He's not big at 5'7", 185, but he's very strong. Bench presses over 400 pounds, does Napoleon Kaufman. Jeff George stands in, swings it out to Kaufman, and a tremendous tackle by the middle linebacker. Actually, the ex-Raider Winston Moss comes and gets him, and another marker's down at the line of scrimmage. Winston Moss, who was a Raider for 4 years, left as a free agent. He almost couldn't express himself. He was so excited about going against the Raiders today.
Really excited because he was going against his former teammates, for one, and he said, two, we're going to have a sellout. The city's excited. The team's excited. He says we're going to be fired up today.
If ever a guy walks into a room looking like a football player, it's Winston Moss.
He passes
offside
the eye
by the defense. 5-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
So Dennis Erickson says some things he didn't like. It have been Sam Adams, 98, who jumped.
Right there, the left tackle. A little bit early there. You can't make mistakes now. You can't lose your poise. One thing the Seahawks can't do is lose their poise against this Raider team. One of the reasons they're jumping offside like this, they might be a little bit too fired up for this game.
Raiders took the lead coming from behind on a 55-yard touchdown run by Napoleon Kaufman. Now after an interception, they challenge again. Here's Kaufman. And rides the wave over the top into the left side of the Seahawk defense, where middle backer Dean Wells, one of the best players, although he doesn't often get the public credit, on the Seattle defense out of Kentucky.
It's a good short yardage run there by the Raiders over that right side. Again, Napoleon Kaufman, not big at 185 pounds, but powering up in there for a first down. Very strong player for his size. Very strong.
Jacksonville and the Steelers scoreless, playing for first in the AFC Central. Tennessee a leader at Arizona. They're going back to the run, and Kaufman loses his footing on the artificial turf, trying to make a cut. You know George wants to throw the ball, Jim, but the play calls are coming in. Number 26 is the call.
Well, this is the counter play, pulling Wisniewski, the left guard, on the defensive end, Sinclair. Joe Bugle told us yesterday that's the play, that's the running play that the Redskins ran so effectively back in the days when they were going to Super Bowls. And Coach Bugle was telling us how against San Diego in the Super Bowl that the play had, I'll finish it here in just a minute when this play's over.
Could see the play again on second down. Jeff George stands in. They come with a four-man rush. He takes a look, makes a throw. Speeding towards the end zone and going in is James Jett with his 7th touchdown of the season. So Jeff George gets a play call to throw the ball, and into the end zone the play goes, a 13-yard touchdown. And the Raiders take a 13-3 lead with the extra point coming up.
Al Davis has got to be feeling pretty good about his football team right now. They took advantage of that turnover down there and got in the end zone.
The Broncos have just beaten the Bills in overtime, 23-20. Broncos led that 20-0. Then the Bills came back to tie it. Cole Ford with the point after try, knocks it through. And the Raiders, with a quick strike offense, take a 14-3 first quarter lead.
Here's James Jett. He's going to come down and run a quick slant in route right there. Number 27, Willie Williams, turns him over to the linebacker. The linebackers now has got to pick him up and follow him across the middle. Chad Brown, number 94, didn't do it that time. Seattle was in a zone defense. They took advantage of the zone defense down here in the red zone and got in the end zone.
Not too many people in the league, even in the world, faster than James Jett, who won Olympic gold in the 4x100 meter relay at Barcelona, part of that winning team. And he goes into the end zone. 7 touchdown receptions this year for James Jett, and Jeff George has now thrown for 17 touchdowns. 4 interceptions is all that he's given up. A quarterback rating of just over 100.
You know, the Raiders have always been a team that have gone for speed. And you mentioned that Jett was on that Barcelona Olympic team. James Trapp was also. Their defensive back was a member of that Olympic team.
We welcome those of you who have been watching the Broncos and the Bills as Denver rallies and wins in overtime, 23-20. Don Criqui with Jim Mora at the sold-out Kingdome in Seattle. Denver going to 7-1. Kansas City now 6-2. So the pressure builds on the Raiders and the Seahawks in the playoff hunt in the AFC West. A division that's often turned in 3 playoff teams and could again this year. Ronnie Harris is back. The Raiders were behind in this game 3-0 off Seattle's opening drive and a field goal. Then Napoleon Kaufman broke a 55-yard touchdown run. Then after an interception, Jeff George threw to James Jett for a touchdown. Ronnie Harris finds a channel outside, gets out across the 30. Napoleon Kaufman breaking a touchdown run to open the scoring for the Raiders after they trailed 3-0.
Well, you get good blocking there by the left side of the line. Harlow and Wisniewski, and a great block by the fullback Derek Fenner. And of course, Napoleon Kaufman uses that great speed and burst to take it the distance.
So Seattle moved the ball impressively down the field, primarily on Warren Moon's throwing, who hit 4 of 6 for 49 yards in the opening drive that led to the field goal. Now misfiring. An interception, a series of penalties, and the Seahawks find themselves set back to their 22-yard line.
One of the things you want to do, Don, when you come into a hostile environment with a sellout stadium is try to take the crowd out of the game early. And one of the ways you do that is to score 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. That quiets the crowd down.
They've done that. Warren Moon with 3 wide receivers in the game. Again with double tight ends. Max protection. Tight ends in to block, and the throw is to Pritchard, who was a questionable starter earlier in the week, troubled by a knee bruise. But he practiced well the last couple of days, and he's been a very important player. The former Colorado All-American makes his 31st catch of this season.
The Raiders are normally in a man-to-man type coverage with their secondary. That time they were in a zone. Warren Moon says, hey, I'm going to see mostly man-to-man. He says, because I can eat up a zone defense.
Time to chow down here now if he can do it. Raiders come with a blitz. They go to the run, and Broussard is stuck hard as Chester McLaughlin has been a wall in there. 320 pounds. Some speculation that the Raiders were looking to trade him before the deadline. He expressed his great delight that he was still a Raider.
There's McLaughlin there playing over the left guard, Pete Kendall. And what he does is he slants to the inside on that play. He makes a good guess with that slant, a good defensive call by the defensive coordinator, and he makes the play. He's a very physical player in there. When he feels like playing, he is extremely difficult to block.
He's a 2-block man. You need 2 guys to hit on Chester McLaughlin. On 3rd and short, Broussard breaks it into the gap, and he didn't get there. He needed a yard, and where the linesman's coming in, it's short of the 32-yard line. That's where he had to go with 1:33 to play in the first quarter and the clock running. 14-3 Raiders.
Well, the Raiders, you know, have not been a good defensive football team so far this season. They're ranked 30th in the league, which is last. They haven't played either the run or the pass very well. Last week, they played a lot better against the Broncos, and for them to be a playoff team this year and to continue to win, they're going to have to start playing better defense than they have up to this point. So far today, it looks like they got things going pretty good.
Well, they, of course, gave up yardage in that opening drive, Jim, but then they really tightened up when they had the 1st and goal on the 10 and kept them out of the end zone. So a short yardage try is stopped by McLaughlin and the Raiders, and Rick Tootin comes out to punt the ball as Joe Pugel well pleased with his Raider defense today.
Yeah, Joe told us yesterday, he said, you know, when early in the year when we were not playing good defense, especially against the run, he says, I was shocked. The first game they played against the Oilers, George had a great game against them, Eddie George. And he says, I was shocked that we played that poorly. He says, because coming out of training camp, he says, I thought we were going to be pretty good against the run.
He said good run defenses usually go hand in hand with a team that has a good run offense because you practice against each other. Here's Tootin hitting the ball downfield. Desmond Howard at the 26. Cuts back near side, ran into one of his own guys, and again a marker comes in. Every kick return has seen a yellow flag. 1:10 left to go in the first quarter, and we'll sort this out now as Ronnie Harris, who returns kicks, also makes tackles covering punts. This time the Raiders had a holding call on the kick return.
You know, one of the things they did in their bye week a couple of weeks ago was to get real physical in their practices. He said they came out on Wednesday and Thursday and hit hard, were very intense.
Holding by the receiving team, number 57, during the return. 10-yard penalty. Oakland keeps the ball first down.
The Raiders are in the lead with 1:10 to play in the first quarter.
And knocked the ball down. Now, Jeff George did a good job there of keeping Sinclair from catching it and scoring a touchdown. That's good reaction by Jeff George.
Officials are huddling inside the 5. And we'll let Ed Hockley, is he going to make...
It was a legal bat because the ball had been touched by a defensive player. No foul, brings up third down.
That it is an illegal play, and it's a loss of down, so they lose the down. That's the penalty there on that kind of a call. So it's now third down instead of second down.
Ball positioned at the 12-yard line, illegal touching. They're down and almost 14. Jeff George shuffles it up. And running with the ball is Derek Fenner, who gets out across the 20. And somehow salvages plus yardage on what looked to be a sack. Jeff George eluded it.
Well, this is a good job by the Seahawk defense because they're just in a zone defense, and all they want to do right here is keep the Raiders from making a first down, picking up that first down. So they give up the short throw there to Fenner, come up and make the tackle. Now it's 4th and 5, and the Raiders got a punt.
George comes off the field. There's Ronnie Harris going back out to return the punt for the Seahawks. Leo Araguz, a very good punter. Before he can get it up, though, the clock runs out and the quarter ends with the Raiders rallying to take a 14-3 lead. Some of the heroics of Chad O.J. shortly, as the Game 7 of the World Series is coming up tonight here on NBC Sports. Immediately following this NFL game, Araguz now ready to punt from the other end as they switch sides at the end of the quarter. Opening play of the second quarter coming up with the Raiders a 14-3 leader. Ball's hit downfield. Harris can't get to it. Takes a hop back upfield and will carry him out of bounds at about the 42-yard line. So how about Chad O.J., the Cleveland pitcher, the unlikely hero last night in Game 6.
And he lines the ball into right field for a base hit. 1 run home. Second man being waved in. The Indians are in front 2-0.
And later he would double. He figured in 3 of the Indians' 4 runs. Don't miss the do-or-die. Game 7 of the World Series. It comes up next here on NBC. Warren Moon said his first game when he came down from the Canadian Football League to the Oilers was against the Raiders. And he said he watched the game films and counted every one, and they hit him 20 times in that game.
20 hits, he said he got.
Look at that arm by Moon, right on target. There's a flag coming in here because the defender was not looking back. The Seahawks are targeting Perry Carter No question, Jim, it was a defensive foul because he wasn't looking back.
That's right. As long as the defender looks back for the ball, if contact is made, they're not going to call it. Galloway had good position there on Carter. Carter's a guy that doesn't normally start for him, but he's playing a lot at left corner today. Galloway runs right by him right there, has about 2 steps on him, and Carter's got to. Then what happens right there is the ball is underthrown. A lot of times when the ball is underthrown, the defender who doesn't see this happen runs right into the receiver, and that's what happened right there, and they call pass interference.
33-yard penalty call on the play, and that gives the Seahawks the ball on the 26-yard line. Moon fires again. James Trapp, the strong safety, got a hand on the ball. He was looking at Joey Galloway. He's been troubled by some injuries, but Joey Galloway can run away from any defender.
Well, you know, the Seahawk receivers have been pretty banged up all season. Galloway's been hurt. Pritchard's been nursing a sore knee. Brian Blades has been nursing a sore knee. And they're carrying 6 receivers on the active roster today because they play a lot of 3 and 4 wide receiver sets, and they need the extra players because these guys are a little bit banged up.
They're going to a 3 wide receiver set here on 2nd down and 10. Seahawks with the ball, trailing 14-3. Moon stands in against a blitz, goes to the end zone, and the coverage is perfect. Harry Carter that time shielded Mike Pritchard away from the thrown ball. Incomplete.
You'll see Albert Lewis right there, number 29. He's going to come on a blitz. They picked up the blitz and did a nice job. Pete Kendall, the left guard, came out there and picked up Lewis and gave Moon time to throw. They blitzed 2 guys that time along with their defensive linemen. All 6 players were picked up by the Seahawks. Good job there of pass protection.
A big down comes up now for the Seahawk offense. 3rd down. They need 10. They've got to try a long field goal. Warren Moon from the shotgun. All-out blitz. He swings it out, gets his man Broussard, but he did not get the first down. He did get it down to the 22-yard line as McLaughlin had the pressure coming on Moon up the middle.
That time they blitzed Fredrickson, Don, and he was not picked up. Put a little bit of pressure on Moon there right up the middle. Moon had to get rid of it quickly to the running back. He caught the ball but didn't make the first down.
A lot of teams now dropping defensive linemen back in pass coverage, short zone coverage, when the teams go to the blitzing linebackers and safeties. Joe Bugle thinks the whole thing's swinging back to the days when teams ran the ball. When they see all these different gimmick defenses, that's when teams start to run again.
That's right.
40-yard field goal. Todd Peterson's 2 for 2, and the Seahawks inch closer, down by 8. Napoleon Kaufman, a difference maker last week against the Broncos, was a difference maker earlier in this game with a 55-yard touchdown run to open the scoring for Oakland. 7 carries for 62 yards, almost 9 yards a carry. As here is the kickoff, hit downfield. Desmond Howard from 2 yards deep will take it out. Looks for a gap. And the Seahawks come slicing in, get the angle on him, and really make a hard pop at the 20.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile retailers, by Gateway 2000 Direct Personal Computers, and by the Principal Financial Group for over a century. Your edge in retirement, insurance, and investment products.
Jim, you lived in Seattle for 4 years when you coached at University of Washington. Beautiful place.
Right. It's a beautiful city. I was here for 3 years with the Huskies and then 4 years with the Seahawks. Of all the places we've lived, this is my wife's favorite city. It's a great city.
Jeff George, play fakes. He throws and gets an open man. Look at the catch by Tim Brown. Darrell Williams drilled him, but Brown, going high in the air, comes down with the ball. He was a tremendous high school basketball player, Tim Brown, in Dallas.
Again, the Raiders are using that play-action pass to hold those linebackers. George gets it up a little bit too high, and anytime you get that ball up too high, your receivers, when he goes up for the ball, you expose him to the great hit there that he got from Darrell Williams.
Only the guys with the great hearts go up and take those in the teeth of the defense. He knew he was going to get popped. Jim Brown, the Heisman Trophy winner from Notre Dame, now an all-pro receiver for the Raiders. They hold to a 14-6 lead. George again play faking. Downfield he goes. Tim Brown again running free in the secondary. And he's all the way out to midfield. A gain on the play of 17 yards and a first down.
Well, what the Seahawks are doing, you're going to see one of their defensive backs come up in the box right there, Benny Blaze. Now he's up there to play the run. So when they do that play action fake and fake the run, it draws him up into the line of scrimmage along with the linebackers, and it frees up that immediate zone area there for Brown to make the catch. You've got the deep defenders playing deep. The underneath people suck up with the run. It really gives you an open spot right there.
Tim Brown with his third catch for 45 yards. Again the play fake. George steps in. Home run ball. Man is there. James Jett, the fastest Raider, couldn't quite get to it.
Well, that time they came with the play action fake again, and instead of trying to hit somebody in the short or intermediate area, they're going for the home run right here. You can see him do the run fake there to Kaufman, come back, and he's going to hit Jett right down the middle. Jett was open by 7 or 8 yards, 5 or 6 yards right there, but George overthrew him. That would have been a touchdown, easy touchdown, if he'd have thrown it to Jett. A little bit shorter.
Got a feel, Jim, they're going to go back to that.
Yeah, they're going to do it. They like to do that. They want to go for the home run, a bunch.
Seattle defense has been buying the play fakes when he fakes to the runner and throws. Now they do run the ball, and look at Napoleon Kaufman run again. Down to the 35-yard line. Let's check out the rest of the league as we go to Greg Gumbel in New York.
All right, Don, and we'll go to Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh, where Jacksonville has drawn first blood against the Steelers. Mark Brunell, 8 yards in the touchdown to Willie Jackson with the extra point. The Jaguars lead the Steelers 7-0. A lot of time left in the first half. Don?
Thank you, Greg. Here at the Kingdome in Seattle, ball positioned at the 35-yard line of Seattle. The Raiders, who were behind early, 3-0, then took a 14-3 lead. Big plays by the offense and defense. Jeff George buys time with a fake again. Now he's running out of it. Lofts it downfield and does the right thing as the coverage was very good. Sam Adams was putting the pressure on. James Jett was in the area of the ball.
You mentioned, Don, that they were going to go back to that long pass to Jett. They did it again right there. A couple plays later came the play action fake, looking for Jett down the middle on the deep ball, but he was well covered that time.
San Diego, they're coming off a horrendous performance at Kansas City in their last game, but that's a team you got to look out for. Ask the Raiders. They went up to Oakland, beat the Raiders 25-10, did the Chargers. Kenny Shedd now is a speedy receiver at the top of your screen. Back to the run they go, and the carry's going to be inside the 35-yard line as Dean Wells comes up and makes a hit on Tim Hall, who's in the game for his first carry of the day.
I guess they're giving Kaufman a break here, a little bit of a rest. He's okay. He's down on the sideline, but they got Tim Hall in there. Normally their backup running back is Joe Aska, number 35, but that time they had Tim Hall in there as a replacement for Kaufman.
Last week against the Rams, the Seahawks defense held Lawrence Phillips to just 18 yards rushing on 9 carries. Kaufman already has 77 yards today, including the 55-yard touchdown run. A timeout here at Seattle.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Domino's Pizza, delivering 1 million smiles a day. Call for a hot pizza now and you'll be smiling by halftime.
This is Don Criqui with Jim Mora back at Seattle. Cortez Kennedy, the 6-time Pro Bowler for the Seahawks. We talked to Tez yesterday, and he was going to take some of these Raiders out to dine last night.
Right. He was a teammate of Russell Maryland at the University of Miami, the defensive lineman for the Raiders. He took Maryland, Darrell Russell, the rookie defensive lineman, and Chester McLaughlin. He took them out to dinner, and he picked up the tab.
One guy he didn't take out was Wisniewski, who's blocking him on the other side. Wiz versus Tez. Now the 12th man kicks in as Jeff George does a checkoff, changes the play. Here's a blitz. Chad Brown's coming. George firing on the run, does well just to get the ball away. A safety blitz from Benny Blades, number 36 of the Seahawks.
Right, Benny Blades, number 36, and number 27, Willie Williams, who's going to come off the left side right there from the outside. There he is right there, number 27, but Derek Finner does a good job of picking him up and pushes him by George. Good rush by Chad Brown right there.
There's another of the top free agent acquisitions in the offseason. The Seattle Seahawks getting Chad Brown, the Pro Bowl linebacker from the Steelers, coming in as an unrestricted free agent. The coaches say now it's like college football. You have guys for 4 years, Jim, then they leave with free agency.
Yeah, it's really getting tough. I think it's tougher on the coaches than anybody else.
Araguz hunts for the Raiders, hits it high, nicely done. Ronnie Harris signals for and makes a fair catch at the 10-yard line. So the Seahawks get the ball, but they'll start deep in their own end. The free agent signings of the last 2 seasons, Jeff George, Maryland and Turner have been big producers for the Raiders. Not so Larry Brown is no longer with the Raiders. They've reached a settlement. He was suspended for 4 games. They felt his practice habits were not good. And Desmond Howard has yet to show any huge plays. The Super Bowl MVP. So that could come at any time. And the Seahawks have done very well also in free agent signings as Moon throws downfield. The ball's on the field. That was a catch. They're ruling it now. They're waving it up. It looked like he had it as Eric Turner, who picked up a fumble and ran it back 65 yards last week against Denver, thought he had another. James McKnight had the ball for a moment, Jim.
Right. I'm a little bit surprised that the Seahawks are not playing more with their 3 wide receiver and 4 wide receiver sets that have been so successful for them here in recent weeks. Again, that time they came out with 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. They are throwing the football, though. These guys win by throwing the football. Warren Moon to those wideouts. They are doing that.
And a good call by the official as he did not get both feet down in possession. Did not fully have possession, so it's an incomplete pass. Chris Warren, the 2-time Pro Bowl runner for Seattle, whose playing time has been limited by the much better play of Broussard and Lamar Smith, gets his first carry of the day and gets the ball to only the 11-yard line. So that puts the pressure on the Seahawk offense, and particularly on Warren Moon. 3rd down and 9.
Right. You know, Chris Warren has been their starter. This year they had a little bit of a running back controversy with Lamar Smith, Chris Warren, and then when Broussard started doing so well, he entered into that controversy. But last week against the Rams, Chris Warren was the 3rd guy to enter the game, the 3rd running back.
He's in the backfield now, Chris Warren, as Warren Moon stands in, makes a throw, and what a beautifully thrown ball and catch by Brian Blades. Coming over the middle on 3rd and 9. Brian Blades is ahead for a gain of 15 yards and a 1st down.
Brian Blades is going to come out here and he's going to run over the middle right there. Now Albert Lewis is covering him man for man, but Brian Blades gets a step on him. Warren Moon has good protection, is able to wait a little bit for Blades to get open and make the throw for a completion. The key there was the protection.
Yeah, Moon had time to trigger it. They talk about the 3 qualities of a quarterback: being able to get rid of it quickly, having something on it when you throw it, and then being accurate. For all these years, Warren Moon has demonstrated all 3 attributes of a top passer. One of the top passers in the history of the league as Joey Galloway is on the run. A foot race is on. Eric Turner trying to court him off. They finally get him, but not till he gets down to the 30-yard line. So the fastest Seahawk shows his stuff.
You're going to see Galloway come from the left side of your screen right there and take the handoff from Moon. Galloway is the guy that the Seahawks normally run their reverses to. They like him doing that. They normally do it about 1 time a game. The Raiders said, hey, he's the guy we got to watch for reverses. That time they didn't do a very good job of watching him. They weren't ready. They got sucked in.
The longest play of this game for the Seattle Seahawks, who trailed the Raiders 14-6. A 44-yard play on the game, 44-yard gain. And now Ed Hockley, the referee, wants to take an official's timeout as the ball is positioned at the 30-yard line of the Raiders, holding to an 8-point lead. Dennis Erickson's team going to a very diverse system of play calling also, Jim.
Right, and you know, they got to do that. Again, like I said earlier, I'm a little bit surprised that they haven't come out and shown that 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver set against the Seahawks. You spread against the Raiders. If you can spread the Raiders out by deploying those wide receivers, it makes it a little bit easier to run the football.
A game of momentum swings. Opening kickoff taken by the Seahawks. They move the ball down the field and kick the field goal. They'll take a 3-0 lead. Raiders came right back on a 55-yard touchdown run by McCallum, or by Napoleon Kaufman, as the handoff goes to Chris Warren, and he's inside the 30 down to the 28-yard line. And there's a gain of only 2 yards on the play with 8:15 to play in the half.
The Raiders, as we mentioned earlier, the Raiders have had a difficult time this year stopping the run. Their run defense is ranked 28th in the National Football League. Today they're doing an excellent job. I think those intense practices that they had during that bye week where they emphasized running the football, stopping the run, has helped them both offensively and defensively.
Team rushing for Seattle, 10 rushes for 58 yards. One was the 44-yard gainer. Here's a throw to the end zone. And it's off the fingertips of the intended receiver, James McKnight. Another very fast Seahawk running the fly on the far side. And the 10-year veteran McDaniel right with him.
Yeah, McDaniel does a nice job right there. See him look back for the ball. As long as you look back for the ball and you make contact with the receiver, and as long as it's not really a drastic type contact, grabbing him or pulling him down or something like that, they're not going to throw the flag. And that's something you can coach a defender to do. You see a lot of defenders, they don't look back for the ball. You got to be coached to do that.
They talked yesterday, Jim, also about how athletic the veteran corners are for the Raiders, the great feet they have. Very tough to make a move on them and beat them. As Moon stands in, throws near side, timing throw, well done. The ball is taken in at the 18-yard line by Joey Galloway, who took his defender deep and then came back at the ball.
You know, Bob Bretkowski, the offensive coordinator, told us that Warren Moon's timing on throws like this out route to Galloway, is as good as any quarterback he's ever been around. And he says what Warren Moon does, he works extra with the receivers. After practice, he'll grab a guy like Galloway and he'll say, hey, let's work on that out route 4 or 5 times. Let's spend some time with it. He works on that timing, and it's paying off.
Jacksonville building a 10-0 lead in the first half at Pittsburgh. On first down, Moon stands in, throws it, and gets his man. Running back Chris Warren, head down. He takes on a tackler. And Chris Warren is down to the 8-yard line on a first down play. He got almost 9. Run out of bounds by the strong safety, James Trapp.
This is a screen to Warren, and it's an inside screen. You can see him fake the block, and then he turns around right there behind the line of scrimmage, and Warren gets him the ball. That's what happens on a screen pass. The running back steps up, fakes like he's going to block, then releases, and then he's got those offensive linemen that form a screen in front of him and go downfield and block the linebackers in secondary.
And it is a first down, first and goal at the 8-yard line. Down by 8. Moon faces a blitz, makes the throw. It's knocked around and almost picked off. Albert Lewis had a hand on the ball. The pressure again came from the outside linebacker, number 50, Mike Morton.
Right, number 50, Mike Morton, is going to come from the outside there, from the right side of your screen. Again, he comes untouched. Nobody blocks him, and Moon has to hurry the throw. There he comes right there. Nobody blocks him. He came inside the defensive end, number 94, Anthony Smith.
Moon comes in with 6 touchdown throws into this game and 8 interceptions this season, a 76 quarterback rating. As Coach Dennis Erickson says, one thing you can be sure about with Warren, when he drops back, the ball's leaving in a hurry. He's tough to get to. Stands in, another timing throw, but he has to skip it in as one of the linebackers made a hit on him. It looked like Rob Fredrickson came from the outside and got a shot on him.
That time Rod Fredrickson came from his left side. Right there, here he comes. You can see, it comes from the right side there, number 53. Normally he lines up on the left side. That time he came from the right side. What the Raiders do, they normally rush with 4 defensive linemen and 1 linebacker. It's not an all-out blitz like 6 or 7 guys. It's just 5 guys, but they're doing it very effectively.
The Raiders dig in on third down and goal for Seattle. Raiders leading the Seahawks 14-6. And on this critical play, Warren Moon wants to be sure everybody's got it right, so he calls a timeout. Back at the sold-out Kingdome in Seattle, the veteran quarterback Warren Moon, who stabilized the Seahawk offense. They talk about the confidence he exudes, and it's picked up by all his teammates in the huddle. Unflappable. Setting up on a third down and goal play. His team trailing the Raiders by 8 points, 14-6. Moon fires, gets his man, touchdown. Brian Blades. As Warren Moon, just before he was hit and hard, threads a tight spiral, the only place he could put it to get a completion, and it's good for 6. It looks like, Jim, they're going to go for 2.
Right, that time the Raiders just came with a 4-man rush. They were trying to double Blades there with number 42 Turner and 29 Albert Lewis. And what he did a lot of times when you double a guy from the inside and the outside, he just kind of stopped in between both of them, and Moon hit him with the touchdown.
So the ball now positioned at the 2-yard line for the 2-point try. Dennis Erickson, who knows about winning, coaching 2 national championship teams at Miami of Florida. His team destroyed the first 2 weeks of the season, both at home, first by the Jets, then by the Broncos. Everybody thought this season was a wipeout, and now they've come back to win 4 of their last 5. And if this play hits, they will tie the Raiders at 14 all. Warren Moon takes a look against the blitz. He throws. It's not close. The defense was all over Mike Pritchard. He could not get free, and Dennis Erickson wants a flag. Looked clean from up here, though.
It looked clean from up here, and I think the thing that the Raiders are doing well, they're getting a good pass rush today on Warren Moon, especially up the middle from their defensive tackles.
It's now a 2-point game. Seattle scoring, but missing the 2-point conversion try. And now the famed 12th man at the Kingdom kicks in. The high spinning kick hit downfield to Desmond Howard from the 7. The 20 breaks the gap for the moment and gets to the 25-yard line. And let's watch now, Jim Mora, the Blades touchdown catch.
On the touchdown play, Eric Turner and Albert Lewis are supposed to double Brian Blades. Turner takes him if he goes inside. Albert Lewis takes him if he goes outside. But what he does, he just goes down and he hooks up in the middle of both of them, and Moon hits him with the touchdown pass.
There it is, easy as that. But the 2-point conversion try was not good. So the Seahawks scoring on that, their first touchdown, and 2 Peterson field goals. Raiders had scored out of the caliber of a Kaufman run. They're 55 yards, and now the handoff is to Napoleon Kaufman, and he is out to the 26, and that is all. He got a yard as he is knocked down. So both these teams riding a wave of emotion coming in. They both felt that this game was critical to their chances to make a run at the playoffs, particularly, Jim, with Kansas City and particularly Denver doing so well right now in the AFC West.
All right, if one of these teams want to make a run at the playoffs, and it's getting to the point in the season where you can start talking playoffs, this is a critical game, and especially for the Raiders. The Raiders can't be 3-5 and think they got a legit chance at the playoffs. They've got to win this one.
Trying to build their lead. There is a sack as that time Jeff George, who's done so well faking the handoff to a runner, then throwing. This time the Seahawks pass rushers didn't buy the run fake, and they get the quarterback.
Well, here comes Kennedy from the tackle position. He comes around Adams. Adams goes first. He comes around. It's a little game there, a cross game by the 2 tackles. The Raiders fail to pick it up. Watch Adams go inside. You'll see Kennedy come around from the right side. Just a crossing game between the 2 tackles. The Raiders don't pick it up, and Kennedy gets the sack.
Cortez Kennedy rushing the passer. Lincoln Kennedy of the Raiders, one of the pass blockers as the handoff goes. And it's Derek Fenner running with the ball. Ball on the field. It goes out of bounds. And it was last in possession of the Raiders, Fenner, so they'll keep the ball. But they're well short on a 3rd down and 15 play, and they have to punt the ball back to the Seahawks.
The Raiders run a draw play to Fenner. The Seahawks defensive linemen get upfield, so it's a good gain, but they make a good hit. Sean Springs, 24, makes a good hit there on the tackle, knocks the ball out of there. No matter what kind of a hit you get as a running back, you got to find a way to hang on to that football.
Seahawks almost coming up with a big turnover. You'll recall the Raiders had one earlier, the interception down at the Seattle end of the field inside the 30 that they soon turned into a touchdown, their second of the day. 14-12 is the score. Raiders lead the Seahawks, but Seattle's about to get the ball. Harris is back. Aragouz punts an end-over-end punt. Sometimes tough to field. Harris does it nicely and then breaks it open on the far side and gets to midfield. Finally run out of bounds on the play by Tim Hall, but good field position for Warren Moon when we come back. Next Sunday, exciting NFL action continues at 12 noon Eastern, beginning with the NFL on NBC. Some of you will see the Raiders take on the Carolina Panthers at Charlotte. Others will see the Patriots go against the Vikings. Most of you will see the Seahawks travel to Denver to face John Elway and the Broncos, who won again today. It took overtime to do it at Buffalo. Check your local listings for the game in your area. That's more NFL action next Sunday at 12 noon Eastern time on NBC. Warren Moon, soon to be 41 years old, at the controls of the Seattle offense. He was to be a backup here, but the starter John Freeze was injured, fractured a thumb in the opening loss to the Jets. Has not played since, although he's due back any time. John Freeze, but they're going to stay with Moon when he does come back. Winning 4 of their last 5. Here's a swing pass, and Chris Warren, at 230 pounds, still with a lot of sprinter speed, breaks it up the sideline. And he's out of bounds at the 41.
What you've got here is you've got number 42 Chris Warren on a swing pass to the left, and he's matched up on number 50 Mike Morton, a linebacker. Normally a back's going to win that battle, as Warren did right there.
Gain of 8 on the play. Second down, a long 2 with the ball is positioned. Double wide receiver set to the far side. Now they bring a tight end in motion. As Moon stands in, here comes the rush. The heat is on, and Warren Moon fires and makes a connection downfield. Coming up with the ball is James McKnight. He's not done. He's going in. It's a touchdown for the Seahawks. A touchdown play, and the Seahawks make the lead 18-14, and they'll again, Jim, try for 2.
That's right. They're going to go for 2 here. They want to tie it up. They're down by 2. If you look at your chart, which most coaches use for trying to make a decision as to whether to go for 2 or go for 1, most coaches have a chart. Okay, in this situation, you're down by so many, you go for 1. If you're up by so many, you go for 2. When you're down by 2 in this situation, the chart says go for 2. The Seahawks are doing it.
That little hook pattern they scored the touchdown a moment ago on Blades.
They're actually up now by 4, but it's the last time it was down by 2 and go for it. They're up by 4 now. The chart also says go for 2 in this situation.
Coming out in a power set with triple tight ends. 2 backs. Looks like they're going to run now. They sprint 2 people out. Warren and Max Strong go out as receivers to the right. And play is whistled dead before the snap of the ball. They try to catch the Raiders in a goal line defense and get some people free as receivers.
Before the ball was snapped, timeout by the defense. That's our second charge team timeout.
That's what. On the touchdown play, Warren Moon does a fantastic job because he's got pressure on him from 91 McLaughlin. And there's McKnight running a deep route. He's going to do a little curl route right there. When Warren Moon starts to scramble, those receivers have to make adjustments. As a defender, you got to stay with them. It's important that you exercise discipline and stay with that receiver when that quarterback's scrambling around. That time, McKnight lost Trap, the strong safety, and got free for the touchdown. Heck of a throw by Moon. There's McLaughlin beating Beatty, number 63, the right guard. Look at that throw by Moon. That's good arm strength right there. Kind of throwing across his body. McKnight made a good adjustment when Moon had to scramble. Heck of a play, especially by Warren Moon, the quarterback. Bob Bratkowski, the offensive coordinator, told us the other day, he says Warren seems to be getting stronger. He says there's no let up in the strength of that arm. And he says every week he seems to be getting stronger. He showed it there.
And so did McKnight, who played at Little Liberty College for the former NFL coach Sam Ratigliano.
Right.
Where Eric Green, the tight end for the Ravens, is from. Very fast, McKnight, and also very agile as he stayed in bounds and got into the end zone as for the second time in the game, Seattle goes in front. Now they'll go for 2, trying to extend the lead to 20-14. Now Moon has to burn a timeout.
Well, the first time they came out and decided to go for 2, as you mentioned, Don, they lined up with their goal line personnel. And they tried then to spread out the Raider defense and catch them off guard. So the Raiders called timeout because they weren't ready for it. That time the Seahawks came out, lined up in the spread offense, and they called timeout. Apparently they saw something by that Raider defense that they weren't quite ready for.
Hey, this Tennessee Oilers team, Jim, who we've seen after a midseason slump, is starting to roll again.
You know, we talked earlier in the game about candidates for Coach of the Year at this point of the season. I think that Jeff Fisher at Tennessee has done an outstanding job. He's had to battle a lot of adversity down there with the move, playing the games in Memphis, practicing in Nashville. Every game is like an away game, getting on a plane every week. I think he's done a tremendous job of holding that team together and not letting those distractions bother the play of his football team.
They're rallying back now. They were a winner last week, decisively over the Redskins, winning again today. Now we have a 2 wide receiver set, an I-back formation, as the Seahawks, after much reflection, 2 timeouts, 1 by each side, go for 2. Moon throws. It is incomplete. So it is an 18-14 score. Bob Fredrickson was coming hard on the play, putting pressure on. This gives us a chance to remind you that don't miss this week's Mad About You, coming up on NBC.
Tuesday, a baby out of control.
Bouncer, bouncer, bouncer.
With only one way to keep her quiet.
We just got to keep her moving.
Yeah.
For the rest of our life.
If they stop, the baby explodes in tears based on actual events.
Oh, man.
Speed Baby, a Mad About You special. NBC Tuesday.
Mad about you, and the Raiders mad about the way their season went earlier this year when they lost 2 games by a single point. Could have easily won both of them. Then they lost in overtime to the Oilers. That was on opening day. So they were devastated by 3 losses by a total of 5 points.
All right. Well, both these teams have started the season out 0-2 and with some very tough losses. The Raiders with some close losses. The Seahawks got blown out. But both of these teams, to the credit of the players and the coaches, have battled back to right now being able to talk about possible playoff berths.
The kickoff hit high downfield as the Seahawks have come back to take the lead 18-14. And again, Desmond Howard. Howard runs right up the back of one of his own guys and is knocked down at the 24-yard line. Coming down to make the tackle on special teams was linebacker James Logan of Seattle.
I've really been impressed by the way the Seahawks have battled back in this game, Don. Down 14-3. The Raiders really came out and got them in a hole. They're down. The Raiders kind of took the crowd out of being a factor here in the game. But the Seahawks have maintained their poise, kept battling. Now they're battling back, and they got a 4-point lead.
And you have to believe, Jim, that the Raiders are going to go way up top pretty soon. And they have that one open deep play that George a bit overthrew to Jet. He's looking deep right now. He throws down the field and hits Tim Brown. And Brown is on the run all the way out to the 48-yard line. So they do, as the Raiders call it, go over the top. The vertical offense. A big gainer out to the 48-yard line.
Again, George is going to fake the run to Kaufman, and then he's going to hit number 81, Tim Brown, on a crossing route right there. As I mentioned earlier, when you fake the run, it makes those linebackers step up into the line of scrimmage, and it really opens up that intermediate area for a crossing route as Brown ran.
24-yard gain on the play, on the reception by Brown. His 4th catch. He has 69 receiving yards today. Here's a sidearm fireball, and the rising young star at tight end, Ricky Dudley, makes the catch. The former Ohio State basketball starter. Another first down. He got 12.
You'll see Chad Brown coming from the right side of your screen, but watch Napoleon Kaufman put a good block on him right there. Napoleon's got to get that head up or he's going to get a neck injury, but he does a nice job of stepping up and blocking Chad Brown.
Ricky Dudley with his 22nd catch of the season. They've done a good job so far today defending him. His first catch of the day. But the Raiders now down by 4. Look to throw again before they do. A marker is thrown for the snap of the ball.
Before the snap, false start by the offense, number 72. 5-yard penalty, it's still first down.
One thing you don't want to do when you get in these situations, about a little less than 3 minutes to go in the half, you're moving the ball down the field. It's important you get some points here before halftime. You don't want to beat yourself with penalties. The Raiders have always been hurt by penalties in previous years. This year they're doing a lot better. They've only got 52 penalties coming into this game, which is not bad. In fact, there's only 2 more than the Seahawks had coming into the game.
There's been years when the Raiders have led the league in penalties and won the Super Bowl. They've sometimes thrived with a high penalty team, and here is the throw to Derek Fenner. Upfield he goes and down to the 37-yard line. That last false start on Lincoln Kennedy, who's also a former Washington Husky, and a big reason that Napoleon Kaufman went to the University of Washington. He came up here on a recruiting trip, and he said they introduced him to Kennedy. This is going to be one of the guys going to pass block for you at about 350 pounds. So that should make my work easier.
The Huskies have always had big offensive linemen, and when you're a running back, that's what you like to see.
Right now, a timeout on the field with 2 minutes to go in the first half.
This is the NFL on NBC.
We're back at the Kingdome in Seattle, where the Seahawks, who led early 3-0, fell behind 14-3, now lead 18-14, and this is a computer rendition of what the beautiful new stadium for the Seahawks will be like when it's constructed. Good looking place.
They're going to put it right where the Kingdome is now, Don.
They're going to implode the building we're in.
You know, they've got the new,
today.
Yeah, they've got the new baseball stadium going up right next door too. That's under construction right now.
There is Paul Allen with his guest Monica Seles to your left, looking on. Raiders getting downfield, throwing the ball. Setting up with second down, and they need 8. Hoffman now goes in motion to the top of your screen as a receiver. Jeff George is looking at him. Now he's got to run. He dumps it off, and Fenner makes the catch, but he is quickly stuck by a former teammate with the Raiders, Winston Moss, outside linebacker for the Seahawks.
Well, George was looking for one of his wideouts on that play, but the Seahawks had good coverage back there, so he had to dump it off to Fenner underneath, and now he's still got long yardage, 3rd and about 8 to go for the first down.
Tim Brown, the #1 target of Jeff George. He goes out to the left. He is the slot back, second receiver in from the top of the screen. On 3rd and a long 7, he could be the guy. George takes a look at him, steps up, shuffles the ball to Fenner, and again the Seahawk defense slams the door.
Well, that time, Don, the Seahawks only rushed 3 people. They rushed 3 defensive linemen, which meant that they were covering with 8. So they had 5 underneath playing the zone, the short zones, and 3 deep. He had to drop it off to the back. The Seahawks came up and made a good open field tackle, kept him from making the first down. Good adjustment there by George and getting the ball off to Derek Fenner. Good hit by Benny Blades, too. Very physical defensive player, Benny Blades. He's been a real spark and one of the main new guys to come into this Seahawk defense.
Yeah, Joe Bugle said we've got to account for Blades on every play. They list him as a strong safety, but he's really an extra linebacker. The way he comes up and makes hits on the run.
He plays up close to the line of scrimmage on 1st and 2nd down, and then when they go into their nickel or dime defenses, he's like the nickel linebacker. So he's a cover guy, but if people are going to run against that defense, he's the main guy back there as far as defending against the run, right behind the defensive lineman.
Now Cole Ford ready to try a long field goal. He struggled a bit this year, has hit 6 of 11 field goals. Some kicking problems against the Jets in the Meadowlands of New Jersey cost the Raiders a game there, but Ford has been a good kicker. And he'll be tested here. It will be a 53-yard attempt.
His longest so far, Don, is 49 yards this year. In fact, that's his longest in his career, 49 yards. So this will be the longest for him.
Araguz is the holder. Ford gets into it nicely, drills the ball hard and true and right down the middle. So Cole Ford, another former Trojan from Southern California, delivers the goods. A happy guy. Dennis Erickson is not. And it's a 1-point game. Seattle 18, the Raiders 17.
Got a good, excellent snap there by the center. Nice timing, well executed, good kick by Ford. That's his longest kick, 54 yards. Longest this year, longest in his career. That was a big kick. That just puts him within one now of the Seahawks. Gives them a little momentum here going into halftime.
One minute and 9 seconds left. So Al Davis looking on as his Raiders beginning to make a move, riding the wave of optimism they came with. And they said that Joe Bugles, one of the big reasons this team really held together, as Jeff George said, we know he's been there. He was really the top assistant to Joe Gibbs on 2 Super Bowl winners with the Redskins. When we were down after those close losses, he told his team, we're a good team, we're working hard, and we're going to be back. And back they came last week with that resounding win over the Broncos, and now they trail the Seahawks in a back-and-forth game, 18-17.
Right. Bugle's one of those coaches, very upbeat, positive guy. Plus, he's one of those guys that gets down in the trenches with his guys. He goes from unit to unit during practice. He's involved with all phases of the team: offense, defense, kicking game.
And now the kickoff. Ronnie Harris brings it back and gets to the 25-yard line, where the tackle is made by Lorenzo Lynch. The Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report is coming up with Greg Gumbel, Sam Weich, and Chris Collinsworth. Scores and highlights. The Denver Broncos, they had quite a weekend fighting through the snow to get to the airport. Last guy Mobley arrived by snowmobile. Off they went to Buffalo, built a 20-0 lead today. Bills came back and tied it, and the Broncos win in overtime, 23-20. They go to 7-1 on the year. Let's see what Warren Moon and the Seahawk offense can do with 1:03 to play. Near side throw. Broussard catches and gets out of bounds, stopping the clock after a short gain. Albert Lewis covering on the play.
Right. Albert Lewis does a nice job of coming up there and keeping Broussard from getting very much of a gain. It looks like the Seahawks, they're going to try to get some points here. They got a minute left. They got about 75 yards to go, but they're not going to sit on it. They're going to try to get some points here before the end of the first half.
Dennis Erickson told us yesterday as to what he knew about the Raiders over the years. He said, when I was a college coach, all I knew was what I saw on Sundays, and that was they used to win all the time.
Right.
As Broussard turns it upfield, breaks it, and does the right thing as he gets out of bounds at the 40-yard line. There's also a marker down at the 30, and the signal is against Seattle with 54 seconds to play in the first half.
That's a costly penalty for the Seahawks because they had a good gain of first down, got out of bounds and stopped the clock.
Holding by the offense, number 87. 10-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
Well, 87 is the tight end, Carlester Crumpler. Top of the screen right there. He's going to come out and he's going to block Lorenzo Lynch, the strong safety. And what he does there is he grabs him right there as Broussard comes by. He gets a little hold there on Lynch. The official saw it, made a call. I'm not so sure that that was the best call in the world, but he made it.
It's an official call now that has been made, and the fastest Seahawk Galloways in the lower portion of your screen. But they now apparently are going to go to the run again, as they do to Chris Warren, and he gets out of bounds at about the 32-yard line. They're going to run it out. Not wanting to risk a turnover with a downfield throw, or is Warren Moon going to pump and go deep?
Well, I think now with 48 seconds to go in the half, which is, a little bit of time here, they got the ball on about the 32-yard line. I think they take a shot.
Well, it would give them a huge advantage if they get in long field goal range and go up by 4 at halftime.
I think you take a shot right here.
Raiders led at one point 14-3, coming back with 2 quick touchdowns after they trailed 3-0. Warren Moon's ready to take a shot, fires near side, but comes in low. Looking at Galloway, the ball was tipped, and running down the field is Lionel Washington. It's a live play, and Washington goes in, and the signal is touchdown. The ball was tipped up, and Lionel Washington comes up with it.
Well, you talk about a turnaround right there. Wow.
Might have hit off his foot.
I thought it hit the ground from up here, but it must have hit his foot.
Fisher was right there looking at it. Watch this. It's Galloway's foot, I think.
There's Galloway. Washington's covering him. Got excellent coverage. Galloway makes an out cut right there. Is open. The ball must have hit his foot. I thought it hit the ground. Good alertness there by Washington. There it is. Hits his ankle.
I tell you, Ronaldo, the Brazilian soccer player, couldn't do that. That's unbelievable.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, hit the inside of his right leg right there.
Actually a trick shot. And Lionel Washington, who we were told yesterday by Warren Moon was a guy they were going to go after today. Well, he goes after them and runs it back into the end zone, and the Raiders take the lead.
Yeah, Moon can't believe it. Cannot believe it.
It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. Have you?
No, I haven't. And, you know, Moon just kind of stood there. I think he thought it hit the ground, too. I thought he thought it was an incomplete pass. I think a lot of the Seahawk offensive players did. They just kind of stood there. They made no effort to go tackle Washington.
Some more great camera work by our NBC crew. Might be the replay of the year there as the ball skips off the heel of Joey Galloway, and Lionel Washington runs it in for the go-ahead touchdown. So the Raiders again take the lead now, 23-18.
They're up by 5.
Before the snap, false start by the offense, center, 5-yard penalty, retry.
Now they're going for 2, Don, and again, looking at the chart here that coaches use as to when you go for 2 as opposed to when you kick the extra point. My chart here, the one I used when I was coach at the Saints, says up by 5, which they are, go for 2, and they're going for 2.
One of the great ones of all time on the right, Willie Brown, the Raider cornerback, the free agent from Grambling in the Hall of Fame. Lionel Washington tells him how he did it. Nothing to it, coach. The guy just has to kick it with his heel. I've got it. Jeff George takes a look in the end zone, fires, got him in. Tim Brown. George, just before he went down, lost the ball, and Tim Brown is there to take it in, and the Raiders, on a spectacular defensive play, have gone in front now 25-18.
That's an excellent throw by Jeff George, because he was getting hit and was going down when he threw the football. Good pressure there from the 2 defensive tackles. Sam Adams, number 98, putting a good hit on George. I don't think George even saw the receiver. He just threw it up there. Tim Brown gets open there in the middle, gets behind those defenders. Good play by Jeff George.
If in doubt, that's a good place to go, to number 81.
He's the guy he looks for down there. You know, we asked him yesterday, we said, hey, don't you kind of look for your tight end down there in the red zone? He says, heck no. The guy I always look for, no matter where the ball is Tim Brown. He says, I look for him first. If he's covered, then I'll go to somebody else.
People forget that Tim Brown, the Heisman Trophy winner at Notre Dame in '87, caught only 1 pass in '89. He went down with a knee injury that required major surgery. Now he's come back to have a series of years that have been some of the greatest in modern football history for a receiver. Every year he delivers the goods.
And I think this year with Jeff George as the quarterback, I think it might turn out to be, if the Raiders continue to win, I think it might turn out to be Tim Brown's most productive year, because he's got a quarterback now that can really get the ball to him and wants to get the ball to him.
And Brown, as you know, Jim Mora talked to his team. He said, we can't play down to the opposition anymore. Last week's win over Denver doesn't mean a thing unless we come up and back it up in Seattle. Here's Ronnie Harris running the kickoff back for the Seahawks. He breaks into open field for the moment and is finally taken down. That's why you can't see this play enough. The Seahawks never want to see it again, but watch this.
This is one of these plays as an offensive football team like the Seahawks. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. It wasn't a well-thrown ball. I think most of those Seahawk players just thought it was an incomplete pass, that it hit the ground. So they don't respond and get over there and try to make the tackle. The only one that did there was Pete Kendall, the left guard, number 66.
It's also some good officiating work, as the side judge there was looking right at the play and saw the skip off, as did our NBC cameraman who got it. And there they go into the end zone with Lionel Washington on the payoff end. Now Warren Moon hands off, and Broussard runs wide, gets some room, and he is stuck in hard by Eric Turner, a former UCLA Bruin, after Turner ran back that fumble 65 yards for the touchdown last week against Denver. His teammate Russell Maryland said, "I never knew he was that fast." And one of his teammates said to Maryland, "That's why he was picked number 2 in the whole draft after you back in '90.
That's for sure. You know, that was Lionel Washington's 37th career interception. That's pretty impressive.
First half's been pretty impressive. It's been like a highlight reel, as the Raiders, with a 14-3 lead, then fall behind and rally back to take a 25-18 halftime lead. And now we're going to go to New York, where Greg Gumbel is standing by. Seahawk turnovers, bizarre as they may have been, have led to 15 Raider points, and them taking the lead in a game that both teams feel is critical.
That's right, Don. You know, there's not a whole lot you can do about some of those plays, like that last play where Washington gets the tip ball off the ankle.
It's
as a coach and as players, you say, well, what can I do? You can't do a whole heck of a lot about it. Moon could have had a better pass, but from then on, it's just the luck there. The Raiders were lucky, and the Seahawks were unlucky.
Big time. And so now we're ready to start the second half of play, as Warren Moon, he was shaking his head. I mean, he's seen everything in his many years in the NFL, 14 years here. This is his 20th year in professional football. You remember he played 6 years in Canada. He led Edmonton to 5 Grey Cup championships. And I don't know anybody, there's people talking in the press box here at halftime that's been watching a lot of NFL football for a lot of years. Nobody's ever seen anything comparable to that.
I haven't, and I've seen some crazy things happen.
Here is the kickoff by Ford, hit downfield. Coming back with the ball now is Ronnie Harris. And a marker goes down, as does Harris at the 22-yard line. A couple of markers are fired in. Lead tackler on the kick coverage was Lorenzo Lynch, who you'll remember had an interception, one of the 2 interceptions earlier. A tip ball that led to the Raider touchdown.
It always hurts to get a decent run back. They got a run back here, and they kick off back to the 20, and now it's going to be set back either at the 10 or inside the 10 because of the penalty here on the Seahawks. It just makes that field a little bit longer.
Makes it a lot longer. As we look at the Coors Light halftime stats, Seattle with a decided advantage in overall yards, over 50 yards more, and much more passing yards. But the yellow 2 is the number.
That's right. There's the one that is the difference in the score. And as it happens very often, the takeaway giveaway ratio has a direct impact on the outcome of a game.
Does it? A lot of coaches will tell you that's the first thing you look for if you want to see who won, if you don't see the score.
I believe it is. I've always felt that way.
It's back to Chris Warren, and he runs hard to the 21-yard line. A first down carry is good for 10. So they come out with a power run behind the house. Howard Baylor, the right tackle.
Power run with Chris Warren starting the second half instead of Steve Broussard, but number 75 right tackle there, Howard Ballard, does an excellent job. Just mauls his guy and pushes him way to the outside. Big hole there for Warren. You don't see that happen very often. You don't see an offensive lineman totally dominate a defensive lineman on a particular play like Ballard did that time.
Ballard, a former Buffalo Bill, a huge tackle. They've gotten good tackle play from the rookie Jones at the left side and from Ballard this season. Here's a nice throw, but a drop at the 29-yard line. As James McKnight, who's been in the end zone once today, looked to run before he made the catch.
You know, when you have a play like that the Seahawks happen to the Seahawks, that interception for a touchdown, you can see Moon there reacting to the drop ball right before the half. It's important that the Seahawks put that behind them. They can't be worried about that play and say, oh my gosh, look what happened to us. How are we going to survive? They got to get it totally out of their mind, come out the second half with a totally fresh approach.
Down by 7, 25-18, the Raiders lead. Back to the run. Nothing happening there for Chris Warren, and a marker comes in, thrown by the umpire, who stands behind the linebackers, and that's almost always offensive holding. Chester McLaughlin was fighting off two people to make the tackle. The sleeping giant awoke here today. Holding it is against the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, this hasn't been a good series here to start off the second half. They had a penalty on the kickoff return. They've had a drop pass and now a holding penalty here, which is going to set them back. So not a good start. Hopefully that interception has not affected
Holding
their play.
by the offense, number 66. 10-yard penalty. It's still second down.
It was the left guard, Pete Kendall, a former #1 draft choice out of Boston College. And Dennis Erickson sees his Seahawks now set back to their 11-yard line.
Well, you mentioned McLaughlin being the sleeping giant. I think the sleeping giant has awoken the last two games. He had an excellent game last week, McLaughlin did, and it seems like he's playing extremely well today.
He's made a lot of critical stops, third down stops, pressuring the quarterback on third downs. It's 2nd and 10. Warren Moon with a deep drop, looks to air it out. Long ball near sideline, beautifully done by Joey Galloway, but he did not have both feet in. As the official again, the head linesman, right on top of the play, rules it no catch.
Well, as you know, when you come down with the ball, you've got to have both feet in bounds, and he has one there, but not two. It was a good throw by Moon. Yeah, it was close. He tried very hard. Receivers and coaches of receivers do a lot of drills in practice. They throw the ball there close to the sideline, and the defender works on coming down with both feet in bounds. You'll see receivers always try to get those 2 feet in bounds from those drills. That time Galloway wasn't able to get it done.
Steelers inching closer against Jacksonville, and a Hawkins touchdown reception from Cordell Stewart. Now Warren Moon on 3rd and 10, again under duress as the heat was on, put on by pass rusher Anthony Smith.
You seem to see a lot more screen passes nowadays than you did in recent years. And here, Warren is going to fake like he's going to block and then release. But again, Chester McLaughlin, number 91, reads the screen, is right there and knocks the ball loose. Good reaction by 91, Chester McLaughlin.
Who's been all over the field today making plays. Number 80, Desmond Howard. Now looking at the punter downfield, Rick Tootin ready to hit the ball for the Seahawks. From his 1-yard line, he hits a beauty that forces a fair catch at the 49-yard line of the Seahawks. Raiders have the ball when we come.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Acura, the true definition of luxury. Yours. By Oracle, enabling the information age through network computing. By American Express, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, American Express helps you do more. And by the United States Postal Service, we deliver.
Chester McLaughlin, who made the play on that screen pass there, is playing very well today. There was some rumors in recent weeks about him being traded by the Raiders, but once the trading deadline passed and he was still with the Raiders, he became a very happy camper. He's glad he's back with the Raiders.
Look at this.
Good football.
Long ball, James Jett, touchdown Raiders. They fake the reverse, and Jeff George fires a bullet 60 yards into the end zone. It was 49 yards in the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden the big play offense of the Raiders is alive and well, and they extend to a 31-18 lead.
There's Jett. He's going to run a post route on Willie Williams. Willie is looking back into the backfield and lets Jett run right by him. He runs right by the free safety, Darrell Williams, too. I don't know what Willie Williams was doing right there. He was looking into the backfield and saw the reverse fake, obviously. Jett ran right by him.
Perfect throw by Jeff George, who made 2 fakes, one to Tim Brown, who looked like he was going to run an end around. You like touchdowns, this is the place to be, as Jeff George and James Jett combine again, and now an errant snap. The ball is taken away. No play. Official has whistled it dead. Chad Brown ripping the ball away. So the score will hold 31-18. We got a long way to go and a lot more touchdowns to be scored.
Here. And what this is poor execution and poor discipline by the Seahawks secondary, because George fakes the reverse to Tim Brown, and obviously the secondary players by the Seahawks go with the reverse fake. They don't maintain their deep position and their deep zones. and Jet runs right by him. He's wide open. Not good secondary play by either Darrell Williams, who had the deep middle, or Willie Williams, who had the deep outside on the right side.
So the Olympic sprinter, the gold medal winner from Barcelona, is in the end zone twice today for the Raiders. Ronnie Harris runs it back, turns it out wide. And finally, he is run down, but there is a marker down on the return. As this season, James Jett has now scored 8 receiving touchdowns.
The Raiders like those big plays, and
so does James
yeah,
Jett.
James Jett, he likes it.
During the return, holding by the receiving team, number 26. 10-yard penalty. Seattle keeps the ball, first down.
Jett, a 5th-year player out of West Virginia.
I think those 8 touchdowns this year, which are a lot more than he had in previous years, can be attributed a great deal to the acquisition of Jeff George, a quarterback who's got the kind of arm that can hit a guy like Jett, who's got that tremendous speed downfield, as he did on that previous play for the touchdown.
John Henry Mills was shaken up there, Jim, a special teams expert, a Pro Bowler for the Raiders. The Pro Bowl twice as a Oiler. Now Warren Moon, his work's cut out for him, as his team down 31-18, but still a long way to go. 12:59 left to play in the 3rd quarter. And when this concludes, it's on to South Florida and Game 7 of the 1997 World Series. 21-year-old rookie Jared Wright goes tonight for the Indians.
That's right, and I'm sure he's nervous right now, although he's had a whole season to get rid of that nervousness. But when you're playing for the whole ball of wax in the 7th game of a World Series, that's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie.
3 years ago, he was playing linebacker for Catella High School down in Anaheim. Jared Wright. Here's a Warren Moon pump faking, and then finally he hesitates and is lost at the 10-yard line, swept under by McLaughlin and Morton. But the Seahawks left early. They jumped offside. The Raiders left early.
Offsides by the defense, number 91, lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
That's the first thing wrong Chester McLaughlin's done all day, who's been a dominant player in this game.
In previous seasons, Don, that the Raiders, who have many times led the league in penalties, the most number of penalties, a lot of it has been their defensive linemen jumping off sides or lining up in the neutral zone. They've really cut down on that this year. I think Joe Bugle has done a good job of emphasizing that to this football team. They seem a lot more disciplined in that regard than they have been in the past.
Their penalty count, as you were pointing out earlier, Jim, is way down this year as Chris Warren runs the ball and gets it to about the 25-yard line. Raiders keeping people real deep to guard against the long ball that could come any time to Galloway. Warren Moon told us yesterday the 2 defensive backs he was targeting were Perry Carter, 20, and 23 Lionel Washington. Well, Washington's been in the end zone once today with that bizarre interception, the ball caroming off the heel of Joey Galloway right into the arms of Lionel Washington, number 23. They coming near the end of the first half. Moon stands in, fires long. He's got a man speeding towards the ball, and coming down with it is James McKnight. On a super play for the Seahawks to the 32-yard line. Man, has this game been a highlight reel?
We've seen some outstanding plays today. You're not going to see this, but McLaughlin had great pressure on Warren Moon. He had Frank Beatty, the right guard, pushed right back into Moon's lap. Moon makes a great throw right here. Good coverage, pretty good coverage by Perry Carter. There wasn't a whole lot more. There's the drop by Moon. Look at McLaughlin, number 91. He thinks he got hold. He probably did. Good throw, good catch there. Perry Carter, he's got to make a play on the ball. He's got to get a hand up, try to knock that thing away.
If he was any closer, when he had to jump on his back. I mean, he was with him stride for stride, but it was a terrific throw by Moon. It's back to Chris Warren, cutting back. Warren's inside the 20, and he's to the 18-yard line. A gain on the play of about 16 yards and a first down.
This is good running. Just a quick toss to Warren. He's got patience back there. He waits for the hole to open up, and then he hits it right back up inside. Good patient running by Chris Warren that time.
and pretty close to good patient holding by one of the Seahawks who held Morton. But it was a clean block, so the play goes. Where it's batted down, it is a 17-yard gain. And the Seahawks in need of a touchdown, down 31-18. Challenging. Moon fires. He's got Galloway. Touchdown. Only perfect.
The Raiders are in man coverage, and Galloway's going to run a post route. Perry Carter's covering him, but Galloway beats him by a step. Moon hits him. You'll see Chris Warren, number 42, making a good block on Rob Fredrickson, who was blitzing from his left linebacker position, which gave Moon time to make that throw.
We're going for bonus in this game. Going for extra bases. 31-24. Extra point. Knocked up and through, and it's a 6-point game as Moon throws a perfect pass. Boy, Galloway of Seattle on the payoff end of a perfect Warren Moon throw, his third touchdown throw of this day. But he's also been intercepted twice. One a tipped handball, one a tipped football. Off the heel of the shoe of Galloway led to 15 Raider points, and now the Seahawks are right back in it. Desmond Howard kicks off with the Raiders in the lead, 31-25. There he goes. Leaping people like an Olympic hurdler, and he is out to the 47-yard line.
Desmond Howard has not been the type of impact player on special teams that the Raiders thought he would be when they signed him here in the offseason. But right here, he gets a good opening right there, shows good upfield running ability. He takes that thing right up the field, which is important that you do on kickoff returns. You don't want a guy back there that tries to go side to side. You want a guy to catch the ball and hit it straight upfield. That's the best way to return kickoffs. And Desmond Howard did it that time.
For 45 yards, he did it that time. Out to the 45-yard line. First and 10 Raiders. They lead by 6. Out of the sprinters' blocks, a two-time California 100-meter champion. Napoleon Kaufman is a high school sprinter. Rips it ahead for almost 10. Next Saturday at 1:30 Eastern Time, and Notre Dame football continues as the midshipmen of Navy travel to Notre Dame to face the Irish. Then at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, Ahmad Rashad hosts the NBA preview one-on-one with analysis of the upcoming season from Bill Walton and Hubie Brown. That's Notre Dame football and the NBA preview next Saturday beginning at 1:30 Eastern Time here on NBC.
Speaking of Notre Dame, there's a pretty good ex-Notre Dame player right there.
Good as they get.
You noticed on that last play, Napoleon Kaufman hitting it right up the middle. And Joe Bugle told us, he says he thinks that Kaufman is a better inside runner than an outside runner. You wouldn't think that from a player or a running back that weighs 185 pounds. But Joe feels that he's got that burst and he's best inside. Even at 185, that's interesting. Yeah. And with all that strength we talked about, that 425-pound bench press, he can break tackles. Jeff George looking for a deep ball. Throws downfield. He gets that tight end, Ricky Dudley. Both hands on the ball, and Dudley turns upfield. He's ahead for a gain of about 11 yards on the play and a first down. Well, what's happening here is number 55, Winston Moss, has got to drop to that zone. Now, he kind of sits there in a short area. He's worried a little bit about George scrambling, and he leaves that hook zone that Dudley goes into wide open. Moss can't worry about the quarterback. He's got to get back there and cover his zone. He's got to get between George and Dudley.
Some more handsome numbers for Jeff George. Kaufman swept under in the backfield on a 1st and 10 play. There's a loss of 4 yards as 95 Dean Wells was the first through along with Chad Brown and with Sam Adams.
You'll see Dean Wells. He's going to be coming from a middle linebacker position. There he comes. He's blitzing. A good guess, a good defensive call. He hits it right where Kaufman's running. A lot of times coaches call linebackers to blitz through gaps when they think it's going to be a run. They need somebody to throw that back for negative yardage, which they did there on Kaufman.
It was -4. Second down and almost 14. Jeff George against a blitz, steps up, lets it go long. It's a lame duck ball. It could be picked. It's incomplete at the 8-yard line. And there's also a penalty marker down at the line of scrimmage.
It looked like Sam Adams, the defensive left tackle for the Seahawks, jumped off sides, left a little bit before the snap. It's important that those defensive linemen get off quickly on the ball, but they can't leave too early.
Offsides by the defense, the left tackle. 5-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
Might have been Sam Adams. 98.
There's Adams right there. He's going to jump a little bit before the ball right there, trying to get off on the snap, trying to get some good pressure on the quarterback, just too early.
Oh, we got these big tackles on both teams. They really blockade the middle. Second down arises. 2nd and 8 for Jeff George and the Raiders, who lead 31-25. Third quarter, handoff Napoleon Kaufman. That tremendous burst with his head down. He lunges to the 20-yard line, stopped by free safety Darrell Williams, but it's a first down.
What happened that time? Watch Chad Brown come, and he takes an inside right there. He goes inside the fullback's block, and Napoleon breaks it outside. Now, Chad Brown's going to come inside. They've got to have somebody covering the outside. Watch 81 Tim Brown block on Springs. Oh, that's a heck of a job right there. Staying with him, giving Napoleon time to get some yardage. Good job by Tim Brown. Good hustle, good effort.
Raiders go back to the run. Back to Napoleon Kaufman, who's to the 20-yard line, where he's knocked down by Matt LaBounty. Not much happening there, as they are indeed, Jim Moore, going to that between tackle run game for their elusive little back at 5'7", 185 pounds.
Well, they feel that if they can get him straight ahead and get him into that secondary, and that's the quickest and best way to get him into the secondary, if they can get him past that line of scrimmage, he's got the explosiveness and the quickness and the speed then to take it all the way.
He's run 13 times for 96 yards. George gets time, fires hard. He's looking at Tim Brown, but it comes in low. Good pass rush from the outside by linebacker Chad Brown, 94.
Before the ball was snapped, ball start by the offense, number 82, 5-yard penalty. It's still second down.
Yeah, they had Chad Brown blitzing from the outside that time. Here he comes. He's going to come free. Well, actually, Napoleon Kaufman tries to block him, but that's a good example of how not to block a blitzing linebacker. Don't dive at him with your head down. You got to stay up, keep your head up, keep your feet underneath you.
On 2nd and 14, George hands off to Kaufman. And he's to the 20-yard line. He got back about 4 yards. That'll make it 3rd and close to 10. Benny Blades was on the tackle. Kaufman was a drama major at the University of Washington. His wife's expecting any day. He said any time they're expecting their first child.
He's an exciting player, and he's an exciting young man to talk to. He's got a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of exuberance. He's a lot of confidence, great personality.
If they have a son, I'd offer him a scholarship now.
Right now.
Throwing a catch, and the ball comes in low, and it's taken. Is it a legit catch? It looks like it is. Officials come in out, rule that he took the ball off the turf but didn't touch it. James Jett.
The Seahawks had an all-out blitz that time.
Great second look that tells the story. It was indeed
nice.
His hands under it. It's a
nice
catch.
job. Yeah, Jett, nice play by him.
And by the officials.
Good call, too, by the officials. He loses it there for a minute, but he keeps his hand between the ball and the turf. Big play.
This crew has had some tough calls to make today, and they've hit every one right.
They've done an excellent job.
Handoff as Kaufman tries the right side of the Seattle defense, and Danny Blades, Brian's brother, and now some folks start up after the play. Pat Harlow, the left tackle, a former #1 draft choice of the New England Patriots. He's had some back problems during his career.
Yeah, Joe Bugel told us yesterday that of all his offensive linemen, he feels like Pat Harlow has played the best and has been the most consistent. He hired a dietitian in the offseason, a nutritionist, to keep his weight up, and he's kept his weight up this football season.
Here's a throw, and unable to get to the ball as Jeff George had a little bit too much lead on the ball. He almost got it to Chad Leavitt, a rookie from Cornell, who was a leading rusher in the Ivy League the past 3 years.
The Seahawks had a blitz on again, and they had Winston Moss, the linebacker, covering Chad Leavitt. Chad Leavitt had him beat in the flat. Had they have gotten the ball to him, he probably would have scored a touchdown. Leavitt's a rookie, as you mentioned, Don, who's been getting more playing time in recent games. They like him a lot.
Yeah, he's a big, tough guy. 4th-round draft choice. Challenged all of Ed Marinero's rushing records at Cornell. Leavitt's running into the end zone again. Here's a throw, and is there a flag? There is not. The coverage is ruled good. Incomplete. Tim Brown trying to get free of Willie Williams, 27. And the Raiders send out the field goal team with 4:22 to play in the 3rd quarter.
Well, this time the Seahawks are blitzing again. Wells and Brown coming right up the middle, had good pressure on George, and he was backing up when he threw the ball way off balance, and he could not make a good throw. You see so much more blitzing nowadays than you used to. Every team in the league is blitzing a whole lot more.
And Cole Ford, who hit a personal best 53-yard field goal today, it's a 22-yarder, and it's a 34-25 game Raiders.
Here's a shot at Tim Brown. He told us yesterday that when the Raiders make decisions on players, on who to play and what they should do, that they talk to him a lot. Al Davis has a lot of confidence in Tim Brown and what he feels, the psyche of the team, and how different players will affect the team and how they'll fit in and affect the camaraderie. And he'll consult with Tim Brown on that. And you don't find much of that in the National Football League. But Al Davis is that kind of an owner where it's important to him what those players think.
And the NFL season extends to the World Wide Web on NFL.com, the league's official website. Visit NFL.com for all the scores and stats, including a complete roundup of this weekend's scores in action. Plus chat live with some of the NFL's biggest stars. It's all at NFL.com. Yeah, that is unusual. Usually the directors come down from on top who's going to be here and who isn't. But you get input from the Brown was very much a part of the decision to cut the cornerback or to suspend him because I didn't think he was practicing hard. Affected the team. Moon fires over the middle. He's got Carlester Crumpler. And he's down to the 45-yard line. Boy, the tight end, Jim, running wide open down the middle.
That time Lorenzo Lynch is covering Carlester Crumpler. Lorenzo Lynch is looking into the backfield a little bit too long. Crumpler ran right by him for the reception. If you're covering a guy man for man, you got to get your eyes on him, not look into the backfield.
A 30-yard gain on the play. Out to the 45-yard line of the Raiders as Broussard looking for room to go, and they've really shut him down now as this game wears on. Both these running backs finding the yards, coming tough. Eric Turner made the stop.
The Seahawks are not a great running football team. They win by throwing the football, but they're not bad either. But the Raiders have been very impressive today in defending the Seahawk run, something that they have not done until last week. Now, last week they had held Terrell Davis, the Denver running back, to 85 yards and 23 carries, which is an impressive defensive performance.
That's the first team to shut down Terrell Davis to that level all year. He's averaging 123 yards rushing a game. Here's a throw and a catch as the ball is taken in by Blades. He coughed it up, but they're going to rule it down. It looked like another one of those carom plays.
I thought we were going to see another.
Hey, Albert Lewis was heading for the end zone as well. He should have been. Oh,
man.
But official right there ruled that the play was down. It is a catch.
That's a good tackle by by Washington. Good tackle by Washington. I think what happened there, Don, I think the whistle blew. The play was dead before the fumble.
That brings up 3rd down for the Seattle Seahawks. They need 3 at the 38-yard line of the Raiders. Moon stands in, throws a tight spiral to Galloway. Galloway still working at it, is down to the 28-yard line.
The Raiders play a lot of man-to-man coverage, and Perry Carter, number 20, is covering Galloway man-to-man. It's a little bit of a mismatch. Carter tries to get physical there with him with his hands, but Galloway goes into him and then comes back for the ball.
Good for 10 yards and a Seahawk 1st down. As the 3rd quarter winding down now, a minute and a half to play in it. Raiders holding to a 34-25 lead. An AFC West shootout at the sold-out King Dome in Seattle. Don Criqui with Jim Mora. As Warren Moon looks to put it up again. Lofting a timing throw. Galloway's there. Touchdown Seahawks. Absolutely perfect. 28 yards. The highlight reel continues.
When you play man-to-man, you just match up ability against ability. And in this case, you got Lionel Washington covering Joey Galloway. Joey Galloway is one of the fastest and best receivers in the National Football League. He beats Washington. Moon hits him with a perfectly thrown pass for the touchdown.
4 touchdown throws by Warren Moon today, who's could throw for 400 yards today before it's over. We're in the 3rd quarter, and he's already passed for 292.
Well, you know, he's the first quarterback in Seahawk history to pass for over 250 yards in 5 straight games. This will be number 6. That's a Seahawk record.
And Lionel Washington, who was covering Galloway on the play, must have turned an ankle because Lionel's being helped up. So that hurts the Raider cause. They're setting up for a conversion try. You get your chart out, Jim, and apparently when you're down by...
Okay, I got to check this chart. Now, it must be go for 1.
That makes it 34-32, and a field goal puts you ahead.
That's right. Field goal puts you ahead. So you want to go for, you're down by 3.
It's being presumptuous, though. The Raiders might score twice before you score again, the way this game's going.
A lot of big plays. Exciting game. Exciting crowd.
It's unbelievable. Just like we like it. 1 touchdown after the other as Peterson, the place kicker for the Seahawks, spins the extra point up and good, and it's now a 34-32 game. The Seahawks will kick off as the NFL on NBC continues. The good Moon has been rising indeed, and so have the Seahawks, winners of 4 of their last 5 as they move to within 2 of the Raiders, 34-32. On Warren Moon's 4th touchdown throw of the day, 2 to Galloway, 1 to McKnight, 1 to Brian Blades.
I got to believe that Warren Moon's confidence and experience in the offensive huddle has a lot to do with the way the Seahawk offense keeps coming back.
Very smart. You can't show him anything he can't make the quick read on and react to. Desmond Howard returns yet another kickoff. He's having a workout today. And outstanding special teams play. As coming down the field was Fred Thomas, number 22, second-year player from Tennessee Martin. Al Ocasel to the left was talking yesterday about he doesn't like to see the Raiders kick off here, or to receive a kickoff at the start of the game. He says if they knock you down inside the 20, the crowd goes crazy, and they stay that way.
That's right. He thinks that if the ball goes into the end zone, you ought to just take the touchback and start on the 20. That way you're a little further away from the end zone, a little further away from the crowd noise.
You got to keep firing if you're Jeff George. This could be a last-at-bat game. Who scores last? Napoleon Kaufman turns it wide to the outside and gets only about 2 yards to the 17-yard line as the Seahawk defense ignited now by the big plays on offense.
It's really important against a guy like Kaufman, who's got that great burst and can bounce it outside, that you keep leverage. And you've always got somebody on your defense that's responsible for turning the ball back inside. That time it was the right corner, Willie Williams. He had perfect leverage, came up and made a good tackle.
Napoleon Kaufman has now run 16 times for 102 yards. 55 of those came early in the game on his touchdown run. George in trouble. Swept under at the 15. It'll be 3rd and 10. Sam Adams, number 98. A former number 1 out of Texas A&M. Comes rushing through and gets the sack.
I'll tell you what he did right there. He doesn't do anything fancy. Take a look at him. And all he does is just push. Watch him push back on the guard, Wisniewski. Just takes him back right into the quarterback's lap. That's what you want from those big 300-pound tackles. Just push back into that quarterback.
And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
The authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the NFL is prohibited.
The shootout in Seattle continues. 34-32. The Raiders holding to a 2-point lead, and now they go 3rd and 10 on their 15-yard line. Well, it's tough to call signals as the 12th man kicks in. The loudest stadium in the NFL. Chad Brown. So the Raiders have to punt from their end zone.
That was a fantastic rush by Chad Brown. Take a look right here. He's going to run right over Harlow. He takes off on the snap, gets a great upfield push.
Yeah.
No contest. The key there was his get off. As soon as that ball moved, he was coming off the ball. And he got into Harlow. Harlow took a real deep drop there. By the time he made contact with Brown, Brown was on top of the quarterback.
He's a strong guy. He's given away 60 pounds to Pat Harlow, and he ran over it. Araguz hits a beauty downfield. The punt drives Ronnie Harris to his 42. Up the middle he goes, and then he is taken down by Lorenzo Lynch on a knockout tackle. It will be 1st and 10 now for the Seattle Seahawks, who trail in the game 34-32. With it all on the line, Cleveland's Omar Vizquel slammed the door on the Marlins last night.
Bouncing ball toward the hole. Vizquel stops it. Throws from the outfield grass. What a play! Oh, man.
And what a weekend, and what a World Series coming up next. The ultimate Game 7 of the '97 World Series. The Indians and the Marlins here on NBC. Throw and a catch. This is Brian Blades down to the 21-yard line. Eric Turner brought him down, but he did it 30 yards downfield.
I like the fact that the Seahawks get good field position after that punt. Good job by the defense there. That helped the field position. The good job by the Seahawk defense. They come right out on the first play, and they're throwing the football. Line up with 3 wide receivers. Hit Blades down the middle from that slot position. Give credit to the Seahawk defense for making the Raiders punt deep in their own territory, giving that offense good field position.
Down to the 22-yard line. Couldn't be much better field position as the Seahawks now start to challenge for a go-ahead score. Broussard tries to cut back, and he is hammered by outside linebacker Rob Fredrickson, one of the 18 first-round draft choices on the Raiders roster. Warren Moon moving up the all-time touchdown pass mark as he's up now to 264, tied with John Elway. Closing in on Super Joe Montana. Up to 319 yards passing today, and we still have virtually the whole fourth quarter to play. Over 13 minutes remaining in it. On 2nd and 8, play fake and a bootleg by Moon. A hard throw. Galloway comes down with the ball, but it's ruled out of bounds, and he loses it. As Jacksonville now rallies, Pete Mitchell, played for Tom Coughlin, Boston College, makes the touchdown reception. Minnesota goes to 6-2 as Tampa Bay, after a 5-0 start, now goes to a 3rd straight defeat. Look out for the Oilers. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but I know one thing: you don't want to play them at this point.
They're playing good football right now, coming back after some tough losses early. As I said earlier, I think Jeff Fisher's doing a great job with that football team.
And San Diego, after that one-sided loss. Embarrassment really at Kansas City, coming back and looking to even the record at 4-4 with a win today at home. Warren Moon takes a timeout with 13:04 to play in the game, and his Seahawks down by just 2.
Your Hood by Nike, who encourages you to participate in the lives of America's youth, and by Fidelity Investments, where 12 million investors put their trust.
We're back to the Kingdome in Seattle as Warren Moon, with over 300 yards today, moves up to number 3 on the all-time list of most 300-yard games. Dan Marino, number 1, and Dan Fouts, the former Charger great, not far behind. Moon on 3rd down. Chester McLaughlin came busting through again. Took about a full load. Chester is like a absolutely bulldozes offensive lineman, just runs over him.
There's Chester McLaughlin there. Again, they had a game on between him and the other tackle. The left tackle comes inside. Chester comes outside and around, comes in free and makes the puts the pressure on Moon. He's playing a great game today. Very active, playing hard, good hustle, making big plays.
Rick Tootin, the punter, is ready to hold at the 33-yard line, or the 28-yard line. It'll be a 38-yard field goal attempt by Todd Peterson. It'll give the Seahawks the lead if it's good, and it is. So the Seahawks rally from behind again. It's 35-34. Seattle kicks off, and we come back. Al Davis has just watched his Raiders build a lead, then lose it with a long way to go. Seattle on the field goal by Peterson has taken a 35-34 lead. The kickoff downfield, and again Desmond Howard runs back a kickoff right down the middle. And the special teams is strong again, and again it's James Logan who makes the stop inside the 20. You know, it's that time of year again.
Must-screen TV. Wednesday it's Halloween, Third Rock style, with pumpkin guts and that thing that lives in the wall.
Who are you gonna call, Dick? Ghostbusters!
This could be the Halloween that goes too far.
Run, lady, they're crazy!
Third Rock followed by Working, NBC Wednesday.
There you go. Must-scream TV. There's some guys ready for Halloween. And we're ready for more big plays. We've had them all afternoon as Jeff George and the Raiders down by 1. George with a great fake, fires the ball downfield. Tim Brown with another spectacular catch. High in the air, he brings it in, takes the hit, and it's a first down for the Raiders.
They're staying with the play action fake and throwing the football on first down. They put Brown in motion. He comes across the field. They got Benny Blades, the strong safety, manned up on him. That's a little bit of a mismatch. Brown beats Blades. Blades makes a good physical tackle, though. Blades made him pay for it.
But Tim Brown coming in with the ball for a 16-yard gain and a Raider first down. George eludes the rush. He has an open man. Ricky Dudley, look at the hit. An absolute blast delivered by Darrell Williams, who detonated on the big tight end, and it's good to see Dudley bounce up.
Well, that's what happens when you play that free safety position back there like Williams is doing, and you kind of lay it up there for that tight end coming down the middle. That's the price you pay right there. Great hit by Blades, coming in with the shoulder. When you come in with the shoulder like that, they're not going to penalize you, you know, or fine you. He comes in with that hit on a receiver like that. He comes in with that helmet. He's liable for a fine. That time he came with the shoulder. Good hit.
It was clean all the way. And Ricky Dudley, well, he's a tough guy. Bounces right up. Hoffman looking for room to go. Comes near side. And turns the corner, and almost a penalty there as they went high to the head to bring him down. He's complaining about it.
As I mentioned earlier, one thing against a guy like Kaufman, who can start one way and bounce it outside or reverse his field or cut it back, you have to maintain leverage. As a defensive player, you have to have somebody containing.
Let's watch that Dudley hit again, delivered by Darrell Williams.
Darrell Williams knew he couldn't get the ball, so he went right for Dudley. He went for the hit. He was a little bit too late to go for the football, so he went for the hit, knocked it out of there.
Hoffman came off with a little bit of a limp. As we look at the 10-minute ticker, Broncos again after that almost lost weekend, lost in the snow, get to Buffalo and win the game in overtime. One of the big surprises, the Giants going to 6-3. Baltimore with a win they really felt they had to have, beating the Redskins on the Skins home field. And the Niners, like the Broncos, they could be headed to San Diego. The two best records right now, both at 7-1. Jacksonville and the Steelers tied up. Pitch back. Tim Hall runs. He's taken down at the 46-yard line on a first down carry.
Well, Tim Hall doesn't give you that quickness and burst outside like Napoleon Kaufman does right then. It's a lot easier to pursue and get in position to make a tackle. Take a look at them.
I guess they retaped his ankles here. There you go.
All right, this is the play where he got hurt. Again, you know, he starts the play to the right side up the middle, bounces it outside, gets hit right there in the line of scrimmage by Benny Blades. I'm sure he'll be back.
Jeff George stands in against the blitz. Buys time. The markers are down as Jeff George fires downfield and comes in low. Two markers are down.
I'll tell you what happened there, Don. Chad Brown was coming hard on a rush, and Chad Leavitt grabbed him and just threw him to the ground.
Sometimes that's not a bad idea. It's better than losing your quarterback if he's got a clean shot.
Yeah. What happened, Chad usually comes to the outside. Leavitt, Brown usually comes to the outside. That time he came inside and he kind of messed Leavitt up, and he had to grab him, or he would have been beaten. Brown is playing a heck of a game today. Very intense.
Holding by the offense, number 31. 10-yard penalty, repeat second down.
Take a look at here. You'll see Brown coming from the right side on the rush. See him come inside. When he comes inside, Leavitt has to grab him with that right arm. Leavitt's expecting Brown to come outside. He's in position to take him by the quarterback to the outside. Brown messed him up by jumping inside. He had to hold him, and he got the penalty.
Now what do you go to Jim Mora with second down and 19 coming up?
Well, you're not going to try to get it all in one play. You got 2 downs to get 19 yards. Don't try to get it all in one play.
Another blitz. George lets her rip. Dudley's going for it. Had the ball and lost it. It was knocked away as he was coming down by Sean Springs, who was his teammate at Ohio State. Both were All-Americans for the Buckeyes.
I think that was a good play by Sean Springs. He had good coverage, and he makes a good play on the ball. A lot of times people can be in position to cover, but they can't make a play on the ball. There, Springs is in great shape, and he goes up and makes the play. That's the key for a defensive back. Make a play on a football.
Sean Springs, the third player picked in the entire draft last spring. His dad was a standout with the Dallas Cowboys. A tailback, Ron Springs. Third down, and the Raiders need 19. They're only 1 of 8 converting third downs today, despite all those points. And Jeff George, under a big rush, has nowhere to go. Leading the rush was Michael Sinclair, number 70. And the omnipresent Chad Brown, number 94, as the defensive coordinator Greg McMackin salutes a job well done by his defense.
Chad Brown coming in from the right side was the first guy that made George scramble. Brown was coming in from the right side, so George had to run to his right and right into Michael Sinclair, who was rushing from that left end spot.
Hey, Jim, these kick returners are certainly winning their letters today.
they're getting their exercise today.
Ronnie Harris.
He's had a bunch of returns, kickoff and punt.
Former Oregon Duck, good player. Comes up on the ball. He has to fair catch this time at the 30-yard line. So the Seahawks have it with a 1-point lead. This is Don Criqui back at Seattle. And from here, we're going to send you to South Florida. Game 7 of the '97 World Series will be coming up as the Cleveland Indians and the Florida Marlins go head-to-head for the World Championship. right after this game concludes, but we've got a long way to go here. 10:26 left to play in the fourth quarter. A one-point game. Seattle leading the Raiders 35-34. Warren Moon wants a lot. He's got Galloway. He's open. And Galloway's down to the 24-yard line. So perhaps, Jim, when the Raiders might have been thinking about running, the Seahawks running some clock.
I think this is great play calling by the Seahawks, by Bob Bratkowski. Good throw by Moon. Hey, don't sit out. You only got a one-point lead with 10 minutes to go. You got to keep throwing the ball. The best thing the Seahawks do is throw the football. Do what you do best. You got a long way to go in this ball game. The Seahawks need more points. I don't think they're going to win with 35. They need more.
And the standout rookie tackle Jones is now down. Walter Jones from Florida State was shaken up. He came into the game with a sprained ankle. He's been playing on an injured ankle. I don't know if that's the problem here, but Walter Jones is down, and Joey Galloway with 45 yards on that reception now has caught 5 passes today for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Well, he's had a tremendous day. This has certainly been a game of big plays. You know, the team that was supposedly the big play team in the National Football League was the Raiders, but the Seahawks have certainly made their share of big plays today, primarily in the passing game.
Coming down the stretch, they could be headed to OT at Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, where Jacksonville and the Steelers are tied. The Vikings, with a win, go to 6-2 today. Tennessee closing in on a victory at Arizona. And it's official now in the books at San Diego. The Chargers bounce back from a lopsided loss at Kansas City to go 4-4 as the Colts battle on in this winless season for them. They'll draft well.
Yep.
The AFC West, the 2 top teams were winners today. The Broncos winning in overtime at Buffalo 23-20. And Kansas City a victory over the Rams at St. Louis. Seattle and Oakland and San Diego all in the hunt. So a Raider loss would send them to 3-5, would send them to the bottom of the division.
Yeah, that's why this game is so critical to both teams, with the way that Denver and Kansas City are playing in their records. If you want to stay in the hunt in this division, you got to win this football game today, especially Oakland, who if they lost would go to 3-5. Big game. And it's been an exciting game, tremendous game so far.
Almost in that unbelievable category as Joey Galloway having one of his best days. 5 receptions over 100 yards, 2 for touchdowns. His last catch for 45 yards, setting the Seahawks up 1st and 10 at the Raider 25-yard line. Kingdome grows quiet, letting Warren Moon call signals. The pitch back, and look at that head-on hit. As Rob Fredrickson out of Michigan State, along with Mike Morton, combine on the stop. There is no gain, maybe a loss of a yard. It'll be 2nd down and 11.
That play was designed to go outside, a quick toss to Broussard, but the left end, Darrell Russell, was upfield. And Broussard had to cut it back inside right to number 53, Rob Fredrickson. He was in great position.
The Seahawks now break with a 4 wide receiver set, a trips formation. 3 wide receivers to one side at the top of your screen. On 2nd and almost 11. Moon, slant pattern, gets his guy. Ball is down to the former Raider, Darrell Hobbs, who's down to the 15-yard line and very close to a 1st down.
Well, this is Hobbs, and he's covered by number 37, James Trapp, the strong safety. By putting 3 wide receivers to the left side and Hobbs out to the right, what they do is they man up a wide receiver Hobbs on a strong safety. They're trying to create mismatches here. Normally when you have a wide out on a strong safety, it is a mismatch. In this case, it may not be, because Trapp is so fast. He's got the speed as a strong safety to cover a wide receiver.
Joe Bugle now looking to his defense, which came into the game ranked 30th and last in the NFL, to put a stop on. 9th different receiver that Warren Moon has hit with a throw today. Seattle approaching the 500-yard mark in total offense, and we're not done. 8:50 to play. The Seahawks leading the Raiders 35-34. The handoff and the run. Not a whole lot going on as the Raider defense tightens, led by the outside linebacker Morton. Warren Moon, he'll be 41 years old November 18th. Among his achievements in the National Football League, he tied the quarterback record over an 8-year period. For 8 straight years he went to the Pro Bowl. This is after the guy spent 6 years playing in Canada, winning 5 championships there. But he's never been to a Super Bowl. Second and 7. Timing throw in the flat. It's Galloway. And he is out of bounds at about the 7-yard line. Turning out on Perry Carter. He keeps going after those 2 guys, Jim, he was going to go after.
He's working on Perry Carter, number 20 out there. And they had 2 guys coming from the outside, Fredrickson and Lynch. But it was a quick timing route by Moon. And Galloway beats Carter. Carter's had a rough day. Joe Bugle said he liked Carter as a cover guy. He was coming on. They wanted to play him more. He's having a tough day today.
Again, a spread formation. Seahawks. Warren Moon starts to roll against a blitz. Fires to the end zone. Comes in high. And Galloway can't even make an attempt at it, jumping for it. Came in too high as Peterson now comes out. So it's a stop of sorts for the Raider defense. As Peterson comes back out, one of the best field goal kickers. If he hits, it will extend the lead to 4. Just been informed that Walter Jones, the rookie offensive tackle for Seattle, was just taken in for x-rays on his left lower leg.
You know, one of the things about that drive, Don, is they did eat some time up off the clock and got in position. Or they didn't get the touchdown, but it looks like they're going to get 3 points in the field goal.
And the Raiders come to bat. 25-yard field goal is pounded through. So Peterson has delivered time and again, and it's a 38-34 game in Seattle. Oh, Wednesday nights on NBC, and they do here in Seattle on Sunday afternoon as Joe Bugle and his Raiders in this back and forth game full of plays that'll be on highlight reels. Have now find themselves down 38-34, but they get the ball back as Desmond Howard returns the kickoff. And Howard, with a very good return, is out to the 30-yard line, almost to the 31, where Fred Thomas again makes the stop on special teams. Tonight, again a reminder, Game 7 of the '97 World Series. The Indians and the Marlins play for the World Championship. It's down to 1 game, and it immediately follows this game here on NBC Sports. 21-year-old pitcher Jared Wright will get the call tonight for the Indians again. Fastballer Al Leiter goes for the Marlins. They've tagged him pretty good, the Indians have. Got 2 pitchers could have sore arms tomorrow in this game as George and Moon keep firing. Here's Jeff George, his team down by 4. Downfield throw. Tim Brown was fouled. Is there a penalty? There is at the 48-yard line. And Brown was stunned as he was hit hard while the ball was in the air on his way to him.
I'm not sure about that call. It looked to me like the Seattle defender was going for the ball. He's got as much right for that football as the receiver does.
Well, we'll see it again. Tim Brown, one of the most valuable not only Raiders but players in the league, is up.
Take a look at this now. What George is doing, he's trying to hit either Kaufman or Brown down that left sideline. He had rolled out to his right. Here comes the defender. I don't think that's pass interference at all. He's going for the football. He's got that right.
Well, you got about 70,000 people here who agree with you.
Pass interference by the defense, automatic first down.
I don't agree with that one.
And Dennis Erickson says, no way, or words to that effect.
I agree. I think that was a poor call. I really do. You'll see Willie Williams, number 27. He's the right corner. He's the one they call it on. He's just jumping up for the football.
Yeah.
I think maybe Tim Brown might have been more guilty of interference than Williams was.
Well, the penalty goes, and the Raiders have a first down as they trail by 4 with 7:08 to play. Jeff George steps up. He's got to let her rip. He's hit from behind. It's a live ball. Seahawks have it. Dean Wells comes up with the ball, the middle linebacker. Michael Sinclair got there first and knocked the ball free, and Wells recovers the fumble.
Michael Sinclair comes in from the top of your screen, the left end position right there. Gets right by Ricky Dudley. The tight end there is trying to block him. Sinclair makes a good hit. Wells makes the recovery. Good hustle. Good ball awareness by that Seahawk defense.
Well, Coach Erickson's ready to get in there and hit somebody.
He's fired up. That whole Seahawk team's fired up right now, especially that defense. That defense is playing great right now.
This is the defense, as you pointed out, Jim Moore, at the outset, allowed 38 points a game through the first 2 weeks. And they've cut it down since then to less than 14 a game.
They are excited. They've played an excellent fourth quarter. Most of the second half, they've played well. They're coming after the quarterback. They're putting a lot of pressure on Jeff George.
You have to think that the Seahawks are going to run the ball now and try to get the clock. No, they're going to go firing again. Here's a throw in the flat. It is Warren. And he breaks a big play. He's ahead for a gain of 11 yards and a first down. As the final numbers are starting to come in from the late games. These are the early games.
You know, again, I go back to what I said earlier in the game. The Seahawks are trying to take advantage of that Raider man coverage where they've got a linebacker on a back. They did that again right there. Mike Morton was covering Warren. No contest.
OT at Pittsburgh. Straight ahead carry by Chris Warren. And the carry's down to the 36-yard line. Virtually no gain on the play. It'll be second down and almost 10 as Eric Turner came up from the free safety position to make the hit.
I believe the Seahawks have got to keep throwing the football. That's what they do best. That's how they score points. They can't get conservative at this point. They're going to throw it here.
They got enough guys in there to catch it. There's 4 wide receivers in the game. There's a blitz. Turner comes. Tremendous throw by Warren Moon against an all-out blitz. He just went to the hot area, the area vacated by a blitzer, and he made the connection to James McKnight.
Eric Turner's coming on the blitz.
Is he?
42 right there, right between the center guard gap.
Gain on that play of about 7 yards. It's going to be third down and a long 3. To get new downs, the Seattle Seahawks have to advance the ball to the 26-yard line of the Raiders. .5:18 to play in the game. Seattle leads by 4. Handoff. Chris Warren, he breaks it. And he's down to the 11-yard line.
That might have been the play of the game. They got 3rd and 3. If they don't make it, they've got a tough decision. Do we kick a field goal? Do we punt? Do we go for it on 4th down? Now they don't have to worry about that. Good play calling here. Good execution.
This drive initiating after the fumble recovery. Ball knocked free from Jeff George and recovered by middle linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks, Dean Wells. And there they've driven on. A field goal would give Seattle a 7-point lead. They're going for the touch, and they've got the ball inside the 5-yard line. It's a 1st and goal and inside the 2. Again, cornerback Harry Carter was victimized by James McKnight.
Now you talk about a well-thrown football. This was perfect. Take a look at McKnight on the left side of your screen running the slant route. Carter's doing all he can do. He's all over him. But Moon puts it in there where it's impossible for Carter to knock it down. That's where you got to put the ball. Right in there where Carter can't come around and knock the ball down. Perfect throw by Moon.
Warren Moon has now passed for over 400 yards in this game. 27 of 43 for 407 yards and 4 touchdowns. Chris Chris Warren knocking on the door. Is he in? He is not, but he's down close to the white line, to the goal line. And the game clock now becoming a factor for the Raiders as it's down inside of 3.5 minutes to play.
That's why that last third down play was so important, Don, because it gave the Seahawks another 4 downs, more time off the clock. At this time, as you say, it's very crucial.
This is the 3rd best Seattle passing game ever by a Seahawk quarterback, Warren Moon. Just putting up the numbers. 410 yards passing by Dave Craig. He also hit for 418, did Dave Craig. And now we might have had a malfunction there, Jim, in the offensive line of Seattle. Let's set him back.
Before the snap, false start by the offense, number 63. 5-yard penalty. It's still 2nd down.
Frank Beatty.
The right guard, 63, Beatty moves. Look at Moon. Moon doesn't like that.
Well, that could be a huge development. If the Raiders can hold and force them into a field goal, they'd be down by 7 and getting the ball back.
You just can't make mistakes in situations like that. Now, Beatty is not normally the starter at right guard. Derek Graham is. Beatty started today because Graham has been hurt and has played pretty well, but you can't make those kind of mistakes in that situation. That's a killer right there.
But the Seahawks continue to just put overwhelming pressure on the Raider pass defense with 4 wide receivers, and they're all good. They'll be running crossing routes. Kind of a look at the old run and shoot that Warren used to run at Houston. He goes to the run, though, and Chris Warren tries the middle. He's down to the 2-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and goal from there. Ball on the field. They're ruling the play was dead.
Good call.
Eric Turner a week ago, it wasn't dead, and he went 65 yards with a fumble recovery against the Broncos.
Yeah, he thought he had another one there. They're trying to catch him in a draw. They've been successful with this little sprint draw where Moon kind of half sprint and he gives it to Warren on a delay. He got back up to about the 3-yard line, 4-yard line, but kept him from getting in the end zone.
Good time, Jim, to call a timeout. As Dennis Erickson, the son of a high school coach here in the state of Washington, and in football his whole life, used to have to play against his dad when he was a quarterback. He went to a high school different than one his dad coached at in the same town. They used to play twice a year. So those Friday night dinners before the game were interesting. Mom had to kind of keep the peace.
That's right.
As we look at the Miller Time game summary. 38-34 are the numbers at the bottom line so far with 2.5 minutes to play. Jeff George with 203 yards passing. Warren Moon more than doubling that with 407 yards. 9 receivers with catches for the Seahawks today as the final is in from Pittsburgh. Cordell Stewart, second half Stewart they have to call him, as he threw for a touchdown. It looks to Jerome Bettis is the way this card reads, and anyway it's a 23-17 win. The Steelers rallying back and beating Jacksonville.
You know, you mentioned we noticed on that stat there, the unexpected stat that Moon had completed passes to 9 different receivers. I really believe this is one of the strengths of this football team. They have a lot of receivers, a lot of good receivers. Moon spreads it around. You really can't gang up on any one guy if you're a defensive team.
Timeout. 30-second timeout.
Brief respite for Warren Moon at age 40, nearing 41. He's going to move here to Seattle. He and his wife Felicia and their 4 children, they love Seattle, Washington. And Seattle, Washington loves the Moons. As coming up next here on NBC Sports, Game 7 of the '97 World Series. What a night. It all comes down to this final game. And of course, the Marlins will be on the home field, but that hasn't meant a whole lot in this World Series.
It's been a great series. I know the series has taken some criticism in the media for not being a good series, but this is the first time I believe this is true, that the World Series has gone to a 7th game since 1991. I think it's been a good series. Two good baseball teams, and not division winners in their division during the season, but made it through the playoffs, and now tonight are playing for the World Championship.
I think what stands out almost more than anything, everybody gets excited about people jumping up against a wall to catch a long fly ball. That's not hard for major leaguers, but the plays that Vizquel of the Indians has made at shortstop are just beyond belief. Some of the fielding plays, charging the short hoppers, glove to hand, and then the throw out by an eighth of a step. It's been absolutely exceptional, some of the fielding plays. Moon on third down triggers a throw. It's caught. It is no signal. Gonna think about it. Touchdown. They shows both concurring as they both got together with what they saw. Now Warren Moon delivers again, his 5th touchdown throw of the day, his 3rd to Joey Galloway.
You know, you can talk all you want about all the acquisitions the Seahawks made in the offseason to improve their defensive football team, and they certainly did that. But in my opinion, the key guy to this Seahawks football team these last 5-6 games has been this guy, number 1, Warren Moon. He's been the glue to this football team, the leader. He's made it happen.
The extra point by Peterson is up and good, and Warren Moon finally cracks a smile as the man who just has led this team coming in here really expecting to be a backup.
Again, this is a perfect throw to Galloway. He throws it exactly where it has to be thrown. The only place it can't be defended, and that's to the outside of Galloway. The receivers lined up inside. There's no way he can stop it.
And you had 2 officials right on top of the play, both looking at it and both concurring. Yes, his feet were in. He had possession of the ball. It's a good call all the way.
Perfect throw. Good call by the officials. Both feet were definitely in.
Two minutes and 26 seconds left to play. And Jeff George, who has really been overrun as this 4th quarter wears on by the pass rush of the Seahawks, now has no choice but to drop and throw on every down. His team down 45-34.
He's running out of time now, so he's going to have to put it up.
Monica Seles, the tennis great, the guest of Seahawks owner Paul Allen, joining in here at the sold out Kingdome.
Sold out and very loud Kingdome.
The Raiders were concerned about that the crowd would lead to motion penalties, people jumping offside.
And it's definitely going to be a factor in this last 2 minutes here.
If ever the Raiders needed their kick returner Desmond Howard to break one, it's now, but it won't happen here. Again, the special teams coverage stands out. Max Strong was down there. James Logan was also down. And consistently down has been a 2nd-year cornerback, Fred Thomas, who made this team as a special teamer.
Dave Arnold is the special teams coach for the Seattle Seahawks, one of the better special teams coaches in the league. Rusty Tillman, the special teams coach for the Raiders, is also an excellent special teams coach. Both these teams have played pretty well today in the kicking game.
Raiders led by as many as 11 points in this game. You remember they were down 3-0 after the opening drive by Seattle, then scored 2 quick touchdowns to take a 14-3 lead. The lead's gone back and forth. George stands in. He makes a throw and a catch. Dudley, the tight end, and he's out to the 44-yard line. A gain of 25 yards on the play. Danny Blades knocked him down as Dudley, one of the rising stars in the league at tight end, makes a huge play that the Raiders had to have. And now we're down to the 2-minute warning. Don Criqui with Jim Mora back at the Kingdome in Seattle. And next, it's to Florida and Game 7 of the World Series. The Indians against the Marlins. 21-year-old Jared Wright. 3 years ago, he was a high school pitcher and a high school linebacker at Catella High School in Anaheim, California, going against the fastballer Al Leiter. Joe Bugle, who's seen his team with unbelievably disappointing losses, now needs a big play from his offense virtually on every down. 2 minutes to go, and the Raiders are down by 11. 45-34. George looks down to Dudley. Almost picked off. Tim Houck is trying to sell that he caught the ball. That it looked like it hit the ground. Incomplete. guy will wrap somebody. This Houck, he's a hitter.
Well, Jeff George is throwing right down the middle. The guy that really is doing a good job right there was number 20, Jay Bellamy. The Seahawks were in a 2-deep coverage, but Bellamy has got to stay with that receiver down the middle of the field. The safeties made a nice break on the ball. Houck made a good break on the ball, but Bellamy was the key guy on that play.
The legend of the Raiders would build on wild things happening in the final 2 minutes, and they'll meet some wildly and successful plays coming up now with 1 minute and 53 seconds to go. George stands in. Here comes the rush. He throws and makes a completion to Harvey Williams. First time that he's touched the ball all day, and Williams gets out of bounds at the 47-yard line. He gained about 9 yards on the play.
Harvey Williams was a guy they moved to tight end from running back in the offseason, and earlier in the season he was playing more. The last few weeks he's had very little game time, but now they feel that throwing the football, they're gonna probably get him some work. I think I'd still rather have Dudley in the ball game than Harvey Williams.
They're doubling these wide receivers. Tim Brown is sometimes looking at 3 people cheating over towards him. That's Tim Brown in motion, trying to change the coverage. And Jeff George stands in. Sinclair's got him. Sidearm ball. Is it caught? Ruled incomplete. Chad Levitt coming out of the backfield made a play on the ball. Good move by Jeff George just to get rid of it.
All right, Michael Sinclair had a good rush. He beat Lincoln Kennedy, the right tackle for the Raiders.
Jeff George was yelling. One of his offensive linemen looked like there, Jim.
Probably mad at Lincoln Kennedy. Sinclair goes right by him. I don't blame him for being mad at Kennedy.
Sinclair's been on fire. He's really been busting in there. He's been a Pro Bowler. 4th down for the Raiders. They need 1 for a first down. They're down by 11. I don't know. It's about as close as you can get. If he got there, it's going to be by the nose of the ball as they went to Tim Hall. First-year running back from Robert Morris getting some work today. And Dennis Erickson, Seahawks, if they got a stop there, will have slammed the lid on the Raiders and the game, as they'll take over with 1 minute and 31 seconds to play. So an official timeout on the field as we're going to have the sticks come out here. This can help a coach grow old, can it, Jim?
Oh, really? And I know how Joe Bugle and I know how Dennis Erickson feel right now. Both of them, they got their stomach is turning upside down. They're sweating.
There are no easy Sundays in this league.
People don't appreciate how tough it is to win in this league, and the stress on a head coach.
Oh,
didn't make it.
Raiders didn't get there. So the Seahawks take over the ball and take over the game as Dennis Erickson, as Paul Allen, the new owner, leading the cheers up in the owner's box with 1:31 left to go. And now if you're the Raiders, Jim, really a stunning defeat that drops them to the bottom of their division.
Well, you know, Joe Bugle has had to bring this team back so many times this year from some tough defeats, and he's just got one more time. He's got to do it now. You know, 3-5 is a very, very difficult situation, especially the way that this division is shaping up. And like you said, they're now at the bottom. But, hey, as a head coach, you got to keep your head up. You got to set a good example for your football team. You got to do everything you can to bring them back, because it is possible. They're not out of it.
Game 7 of the World Series is next, as the Seahawks now will run the clock. The Raiders use a timeout, stopping the clock with 1:25 to play. Tim Hall and the Raiders didn't get there on 4th down, and the Seahawks take over the ball, leading by 11. Coming up next for the Seahawks, it only gets tougher next week as they head into Mile High Stadium to play the 7-1 Broncos, who made the long trek to Buffalo and won in overtime, 23-20 today, to go to 7-1. Pitch back, Chris Warren. His job now is to hold on and stay in bounds, which he does. The Raiders just used their last timeout with 1:18 left to play in the game.
You know, talking about going into Denver and playing in Denver next week, going in at 5-3, you know, they're going to feel that they have a real shot. They might be playing for a division, maybe a possible second place or championship down the road.
No question, they're very much in the hunt. Back in the race are the Seahawks. And upcoming for the Raiders, they'll go to Charlotte next week to play Carolina. Then they come home to Oakland to go against New Orleans, a team that was shut out again today by the 49ers. And it's off to San Diego. That's a team you have to be wary of. You don't know what you're going to get with them. They won today easily and are 4-4.
Yeah, the Raiders have got 3 more in their next 4 games. They play 1 at home and 3 on the road, so they've got their work cut out for them, especially now. This was such a big game for both teams. It's going to be tough for Joe Bugle to bring this team back and get them ready for next week's game, but he's got to do it. You got to find a way.
Jeff George walking the sidelines now, powerless to move his team while the Seahawks have the ball. They have 2 downs and the Raiders have no timeouts. 1:18 left to play. Back to Warren. And he's down to the 47-yard line where McLaughlin stops him. And that brings up 4th down. So the Seattle Seahawks, as the clock winds down, they'll use every tick of it. And they'll be punting the ball as we look at the AFC West through the halfway point of the season. Denver 7-1. Kansas City now up to 6-2 after beating the Rams today at St. Louis. Seattle with a 5-3 record coming out of this game. And San Diego at 500 at 4-4. The Raiders will drop to 3-5 as we're down to 38 seconds left to go. And then off to World Series game number 7.
I believe the Seahawk franchise has got a bright future. They've got some good young football players.
Done a good job with personnel. They've got some very good people in that defense.
Randy Mueller is the vice president of football operations. He's primarily the guy in charge of selecting people both in the as free agents or in the draft. They've got good young players. They've got a good coaching staff. They've got a nice facility. They've got a new owner, a new stadium being built for them in a few years. Great place to live. I think things are really looking up for this football team.
Well, they've been looking up the last 6 weeks. As after that awful start, they've really started to cook. 5 wins in their last 6 games as Desmond Howard fair catches the ball back at the 10-yard line. And the Raiders with send out their offense to fire away, but it's far too late now to get back in this as the celebration has begun for the Seahawks. The anticipation of this game was enormous. The first Seahawks home game sold out sometime. And Warren Moon, who was brought in here to be a backup quarterback behind John Freeze when Freeze went down with a fractured thumb that required surgery in the opening loss to the Jets. The ageless one, Warren Moon, stepped in, and every week he's been getting better, and his team has. He's stabilized the whole offense. He is the leader of this team, and he led the way today with a phenomenal performance. 409 yards passing for Warren Moon, 5 touchdown throws. Tied a team record. Jeff George dumps it off to Tim Brown. Looking for somewhere to go. He dives out to the 25-yard line as the Raiders, now powerless to stop the clock, are out of timeouts. And that could do it. Jeff George, another quick look to Tim Brown. Fighting till the end. But it's the Seahawks who prevail in an AFC West shootout. A real highlight reel of the game. Just phenomenal big plays. Some of the most bizarre things we've ever seen, like the ball that caromed off Joey Galloway's foot into the arms of defensive back Lionel Washington, which he ran in for a touchdown. But that wasn't enough for the Raiders, as the winner is Seattle, 45-34. Now for Jim Mora, this is Don Crickey as we go to New York, where Greg Gumbel is standing by. Greg?